Deep beneath the sands of time, hidden in the vaults of forgotten ruins, lie objects that defy explanation. Artifacts of ancient civilizations that seem almost out of place. How could a metal sphere, perfectly smooth and uncorroded, survive thousands of years? Why do intricate stone carvings depict beings and symbols that have no place in known history? From mysterious machines to cryptic inscriptions, these discoveries challenge everything we know about the past. Are they the relics of lost knowledge? Or perhaps something even stranger, echoes from a forgotten age that modern science can barely begin to comprehend? Join us as we unravel the enigma of bizarre ancient artifacts that continue to puzzle and astound. The answers may be more astonishing than you think. In the heart of the dense jungles of Central America, where the canopy stretches far above, casting the earth below in perpetual twilight, there lies a legacy of knowledge far beyond what most of the world has ever known. Hidden in the remnants of ancient cities, some of the most enigmatic artifacts ever discovered are the Mayan astronomical codices. These delicate, weathered pages of bark paper hold an intricate record of a civilization that looked to the skies not only for the passage of time, but for a deeper understanding of the universe itself. The codices, meticulously crafted and adorned with a striking combination of symbols, glyphs, and celestial diagrams, were created by Mayan scribes who, over 1,000 years ago, inscribed their worldviews with a sense of precision and detail that still confounds modern scholars. They record the movements of the stars, the cycles of the moon, and the trajectories of planets like Venus with an accuracy that rivals even the most sophisticated instruments of today. These texts are not merely calendars. They are windows into a cosmic understanding, revealing a culture whose knowledge of the heavens seemed to transcend what should have been possible at the time. The codices are, by all accounts, exceptional. Of the hundreds that may have once existed, only a handful survive, preserved through centuries of humid heat, the encroachment of nature, and the passage of time. The Dresden Codex, Madrid Codex, and Paris Codex are the primary survivors, each held in various collections across the world. Their fragile pages, both a testament to the ingenuity of the ancient Maya and a reminder of how much we may never fully understand. Among the surviving codices, the Dresden Codex stands as the most famous. Written between the 11th and 12th centuries, it is a masterpiece of Mayan astronomy, consisting of complex tables and charts designed to predict the movements of the planets, the phases of the moon, and the crucial dates of ritual and sacrifice. The Codex's detailed diagrams show not only the Mayas' meticulous understanding of the cycles of Venus, but also their ability to align their rituals with cosmic events in ways that suggest an almost mystical connection to the heavens. What is most striking, however, is the precision with which the Mayans recorded the movements of celestial bodies. In an age long before telescopes or advanced astronomical tools, they calculated the orbital patterns of Venus with remarkable accuracy, predicting its reappearance in the night sky after days of absence, or its position relative to the Sun during its greatest elongation, all with a sophistication that suggests far more than mere observation. The Maya were not just stargazers, they were celestial architects, arranging their cities and temples in alignment with heavenly bodies, designing their rituals to echo the cosmic rhythms of the universe. But even as the codices offer a glimpse into this ancient wisdom, they also reveal gaps, places where the meaning behind the symbols eludes us, leaving scholars to wonder what we might be missing. In particular, many of the celestial events documented in the codices are accompanied by glyphs whose meanings remain unclear. Some scholars argue these may represent deities or supernatural forces tied to specific celestial alignments. Others suggest that the codices could contain lost or esoteric knowledge, astronomical data encoded in a language of myth and mysticism, designed not only to predict the movements of the stars, but to understand the deeper spiritual significance of those movements. One of the most compelling aspects of the codices is the way they intertwine myth and science. The Maya didn't simply record the movements of celestial bodies for practical purposes. They saw the heavens as a dynamic, living force, one that mirrored and shaped their own world. Venus, for example, was associated with the god Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, whose descent and return were mirrored in the rise and fall of the planet. Venus was not merely a point of light in the sky, but a deity whose influence was felt in the daily lives of the Maya. The codices thus become more than just scientific records. They are a bridge between the material and spiritual worlds, offering a view of the universe as a place where the sacred and the empirical were intimately connected. Yet even with this knowledge, the mysteries of the codices remain. Despite the impressive understanding the Maya had of their environment, there are aspects of their astronomical knowledge that seem to defy explanation. How did they achieve such remarkable precision without the aid of modern instruments? Did they possess a forgotten technology, or perhaps a different method of observation that we have yet to fully understand? Some have speculated that the Maya may have used sound waves or other forms of resonance to measure celestial movements. But this theory remains controversial, with little concrete evidence to support it. Then there is the question of the purpose behind these codices. Were they purely practical, tools to help guide agricultural cycles, for instance? Or did they serve a deeper, more mysterious function? Some believe the codices were created to unlock the very secrets of the universe, a kind of astronomical code meant to align the earthly with the divine. Others suggest that they may have been an attempt to predict, and perhaps control, the fate of the Maya themselves, aligning their actions with cosmic forces to ensure the survival of their civilization. Despite centuries of study, there is still much we do not know about the codices. Their true significance may never be fully understood, and the question lingers. Were the Maya simply ahead of their time, or was there something more at play, some deeper, hidden knowledge encoded within these ancient texts? In the quiet rooms of museums where the codices are preserved, and in the heart of the jungle where the Maya once flourished, the answers remain locked away, whispering a silent, cosmic riddle, still waiting for us to unlock. As we turn from the celestial mysteries of the Mayan codices, we move deeper into the heart of ancient Mesoamerica, into the land where another enigmatic civilization left behind monumental evidence of their once great power and knowledge. The Olmec, often referred to as the mother culture of Mesoamerica, flourished in the lowland regions of modern-day Mexico over 3,000 years ago. Among their most awe-inspiring creations are the colossal stone altars scattered across their ceremonial centers. These altars, with their imposing size and mysterious carvings, present a puzzle that has yet to be fully solved. The altars themselves, primarily found in the Olmec heartland of the Gulf Coast, are massive, some weighing as much as 40 tons, and are often carved from basalt, a volcanic stone that had to be transported from quarries miles away. Yet it's not their size or their material that confounds archaeologists and historians. It's the figures etched into them, and the rituals they seem to represent. The altars typically depict human-like faces with features that are unnervingly distinct. Wide, almond-shaped eyes, thick lips, and pronounced noses characterize these faces, but there's something else about them, something that has led to endless speculation. The faces are often portrayed wearing helmets or headgear that appear almost alien in nature. These headgear, with their bulbous shapes and ridged designs, bear a striking resemblance to depictions of astronauts or helmets worn by figures in science fiction. This oddity has spurred various theories, some more grounded in history than others, about the Olmec's understanding of the world, or perhaps their connection to it. Were these figures gods or rulers, perhaps depicted as divine beings with supernatural attributes? Or were the altars meant to portray something altogether different, an idea so foreign to our own understanding of the past that it remains forever out of reach? In the mainstream view, the Olmec altars are understood as representations of the powerful rulers of the Olmec civilization, their faces immortalized in stone as part of a ritualistic practice that elevated them to divine status. These altars, it is believed, were used during ceremonial events where offerings were made, perhaps to honor ancestors or to communicate with deities. The faces carved into the stone may be those of the rulers themselves, or perhaps they represent gods who were considered patrons of the Olmec people. The concept of the ruler god is a common motif in ancient Mesoamerican cultures, seen again in the Maya and Aztec civilizations that followed. However, as with many ancient cultures, the precise meaning behind these altars remains elusive. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Olmec altars is the ambiguity of their purpose. While many scholars agree they were used in ritualistic contexts, the details of these ceremonies remain speculative. Some believe the altars were sites for human sacrifice, where offerings were made to appease the gods or ensure the prosperity of the community. Others suggest that the altars were simply platforms for placing important figures or relics during religious rituals. But no definitive evidence has been found to confirm these theories, leaving room for the possibility that the true function of the altars is something far more complex and perhaps even unknown. Then there is the question of the faces themselves. The Olmec created several versions of these colossal heads, each slightly different, but all bearing similar characteristics: heavy-lidded eyes, large lips, and the unique headgear. Some scholars speculate that these faces could represent the Olmec elite, their powerful leaders or shaman priests. These faces, carved with remarkable precision, suggest a deep respect for individual identity and a need to immortalize those who held power. However, the head's disproportionate features, particularly the oversized eyes and exaggerated facial structure, could point to something more symbolic. Are these faces meant to convey the inner qualities of the rulers or deities, rather than their physical appearance? Could they represent not just political power, but spiritual or supernatural forces that transcended the earthly realm? The fact that so many of these colossal heads were found in areas that are not traditionally associated with Olmec capitals raises further questions. The Olmec were not a unified empire, but a collection of city-states, each with its own distinct identity. Yet the altars, with their imposing heads, appear to have been placed in areas far from the major Olmec centers. This distribution suggests that the altars were not just symbols of political power, but part of a broader, interconnected network of rituals and beliefs. But why place these monumental sculptures in less central locations? Was it to reach a wider audience? Or was there something special about these sites, perhaps a connection to celestial or natural phenomena, similar to the ritual significance of Mayan alignments with the stars? Beyond these theories, there are, of course, more speculative ideas, ones that venture into the realm of the fantastic. Some fringe theorists have suggested that the peculiar appearance of the Olmec heads, with their apparent helmets and wide-eyed expressions, is evidence of a lost connection with extraterrestrial beings. According to this view, the Olmec may have encountered beings from another world, and their heads, captured in stone, are depictions of these otherworldly visitors. Such ideas, while certainly intriguing, remain firmly outside the realm of mainstream archaeology. Yet the sheer number of these heads, over 17 known to exist, and their deliberate, thoughtful construction, continues to intrigue those who are fascinated by the unexplained. In the end, the mystery of the Olmec altars is more than just a question of ancient artistry or culture. It is a reflection of the limits of our own understanding of the past. Despite decades of research, we are left with as many questions as answers. Were the Olmec truly advanced in ways that we cannot yet comprehend? Were their altars and colossal heads meant to honor rulers and gods? Or did they serve a far more complex, even esoteric purpose? And perhaps most intriguingly, why does their legacy remain so enigmatic, even as the stones they left behind continue to endure? As with so many ancient mysteries, the Olmec altars invite us to look deeper, to question our assumptions, and to wonder what secrets remain buried beneath the surface of time. For now, the answers lie just beyond reach, waiting for the next generation of explorers to uncover the truth. Until then, the colossal faces of the Olmec remain silent, their gaze fixed on us across the millennia, as mysterious and unyielding as the stone itself. As we shift from the monumental faces of the Olmec to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, another mysterious artifact emerges from the depths of time, a stone tablet that, for centuries, has confounded scholars with its cryptic inscriptions. The Sumerian Plimpton 322 tablet, a small yet remarkable piece of ancient writing, has long been the subject of intrigue. Discovered in the early 20th century in what is now southern Iraq, this seemingly unassuming clay tablet holds the key to an advanced mathematical knowledge that predates modern civilizations by thousands of years. Yet, despite its significance, the true nature of its purpose remains unclear, leaving many to ponder. What did the Sumerians truly understand about mathematics? And why is it that we are only now beginning to unravel the mysteries encoded in these ancient symbols? The Plimpton 322 tablet is just a fragment, measuring approximately 8 inches by 5 inches and inscribed with cuneiform script, a writing system that emerged in Sumer around 3200 BCE. The tablet, which is believed to have been created around 1800 BCE, is thought to be a form of teaching tool, perhaps a student's exercise in geometry or arithmetic. What makes the tablet so fascinating is not just its age or its place in history, but the patterns it reveals. The cuneiform markings on the tablet appear to form a list of 15 rows, each containing 4 numbers. These numbers, as it turns out, are not random at all. They reveal a deep understanding of mathematical concepts, specifically Pythagorean triples, a relationship between the sides of right-angled triangles. At first glance, this discovery might not seem so extraordinary. After all, we know that the ancient Greeks, such as the philosopher Pythagoras, are often credited with formalizing the concept of the right triangle and its properties. But what is perplexing about the Plimpton 322 tablet is that it predates Pythagoras by over 1,000 years. The Sumerians, long before the rise of Greek mathematics, seem to have not only understood the basic principles of geometry, but also had a sophisticated understanding of trigonometry. The tablet lists a series of Pythagorean triples, sets of 3 integers that fit the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which states that the square of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides. This relationship, while foundational in geometry, is not something that had been thought to exist in ancient Sumerian mathematics. The fact that the Sumerians understood this principle so early, and may have been using it in ways that we are only beginning to comprehend, raises numerous questions about the true extent of their scientific knowledge. Some scholars believe that the numbers on the tablet were used by the Sumerians in architectural or engineering contexts, possibly to calculate the dimensions of structures or to create precise measurements in their monumental construction projects, like the ziggurats. These large, step pyramid temples required an intricate understanding of geometry to ensure their stability and accuracy. It's plausible that the Plimpton 322 tablet served as a teaching tool for these practical applications. The precision and structure of the tablet suggest that the Sumerians were not merely recording numbers, but were engaged in a highly developed system of applied mathematics. However, not all interpretations are so straightforward. While many see the tablet as a practical tool, others argue that it may have had a more abstract or spiritual purpose. The Sumerians, like many ancient cultures, viewed numbers as more than mere symbols of quantity. They were seen as having inherent qualities, sometimes believed to hold cosmic significance. Could the numbers on the Plimpton 322 tablet, arranged in a seemingly deliberate sequence, be part of a deeper system of thought, one that integrated mathematics with cosmology or religious beliefs? Was there a spiritual or ritualistic aspect to the use of these numbers, perhaps tied to the cycles of the stars or the movements of celestial bodies? This speculation leads us into more speculative territory. Some researchers have suggested that the tablet might be evidence of a lost, advanced system of knowledge, one that bridges the gap between the ancient and the almost incomprehensibly advanced. Could it be that the Sumerians had access to a form of mathematics that was far more complex than what we would expect for a civilization of their time? Did they possess knowledge that, over the millennia, was lost to us, or was the full depth of their understanding deliberately obscured by time? There are also fringe theories that explore even more unconventional explanations for the tablet's unusual mathematical properties. A few theorists have suggested that the advanced geometry displayed in the Plimpton 322 tablet could indicate the influence of outside forces, perhaps ancient extraterrestrials, or even forgotten civilizations with advanced knowledge that predates recorded history. While these ideas are not supported by mainstream archaeology, the complexity and precision of the tablet's contents continue to spark the imagination of those who seek to explore more extraordinary possibilities. But even without delving into such theories, the tablet remains an extraordinary artifact, a testament to the advanced capabilities of the Sumerians and to the mysteries that still surround their civilization. What was the true purpose of the Plimpton 322 tablet? Was it purely mathematical, or was there a deeper, more philosophical or spiritual element behind its creation? And how did the Sumerians acquire this knowledge so long ago? These questions remain open, leaving room for debate and further exploration. As we look back on the Plimpton 322 tablet, it becomes clear that the ancient Sumerians were not merely early pioneers of writing and governance. They were also masters of a complex and intricate mathematical language that, in many ways, still baffles us. Their understanding of geometry, seemingly ahead of its time, invites us to reconsider how we view ancient civilizations, not as primitive, but as cultures with knowledge that might be far more sophisticated than we often give them credit for. And as the secrets of the Plimpton 322 tablet continue to unravel, we are left with a deeper appreciation for the mysterious legacies that ancient peoples have left behind. Legacies that still challenge our assumptions about the limits of human knowledge. What else, we wonder, might be hidden in the folds of ancient history, waiting for the right moment to be discovered? As we leave behind the ancient mathematical precision of the Sumerians, we now turn to a curious set of stones scattered across the remote deserts of Peru. These stones, known as the Ica Stones, have stirred intrigue, controversy, and even disbelief for over half a century. With their intricate carvings and mysterious depictions, the Ica Stones challenge our understanding of history, archaeology, and the very nature of human existence. Are they simple artifacts from a forgotten civilization, or do they hold a deeper, more profound secret, one that has remained hidden for millennia? The Ica Stones were first brought to global attention in the 1960s, when a local farmer named Basilio Uschuya began selling them to a physician and collector named Javier Cabrera. Cabrera, fascinated by the odd markings on the stones, began to amass a collection that would grow to over 15,000 pieces. These stones, ranging in size from small pebbles to larger boulders, are covered in carvings of various scenes, animals, and symbols. But what sets the Ica Stones apart from other ancient relics is the startling presence of depictions that seem impossible for a civilization from the distant past to have created. Some of the most notable carvings on the Ica Stones show human figures living alongside dinosaurs. Depictions of humans riding dinosaurs, hunting them, and even performing surgery on them. These images, if genuine, would suggest a much earlier and more advanced understanding of the natural world than what we typically associate with prehistoric cultures. Such representations raise immediate questions. Could humans and dinosaurs have coexisted? And if they did, what does that say about the timeline of human history and evolution as we know it? The mainstream explanation for these bizarre carvings is that they are hoaxes. Skeptics argue that the Ica stones were likely forged in modern times, with the crude engravings added by local artisans to capitalize on the growing interest in ancient mysteries. According to this view, the supposed depictions of humans and dinosaurs are a fabrication, a product of imagination and deception, rather than an accurate historical record. Some believe the stones were designed to appeal to tourists, or to cater to the fascination with dinosaurs and ancient civilizations that was prominent during the 20th century. However, there are elements of the Ica stones that continue to resist easy dismissal. For one, the stones show an astonishing degree of detail. The carving technique, which appears to be incised into the stone's surface, suggests a knowledge of advanced tools or techniques that should not have been available to the ancient peoples of the region. The sharpness of the lines, the clarity of the figures, and the consistency of the images across various stones are remarkable. Could these intricate carvings have been created using only rudimentary tools, as skeptics suggest? Or could there be something about the Ica stones, something we still don't fully understand, that points to a lost technology or knowledge? Another point of contention lies in the materials themselves. Some of the Ica stones have been subjected to scientific testing with mixed results. While many of the stones appear to be of a type of volcanic rock that is native to the region, there is debate over the exact age of the stones and how they could have been shaped so precisely. Some experts have pointed out that certain stones appear to have been artificially aged, their surfaces weathered in a way that suggests a process of deliberate manipulation. But this, of course, raises more questions. If the stones are modern forgeries, why go to such lengths to make them appear ancient? And why would someone go to such effort to create images of humans and dinosaurs, an idea that, even if genuine, would be considered wildly anachronistic? Theories about the Ica stones' true origins span a wide range of possibilities. Some suggest that they could represent a lost civilization, one far older and more advanced than the known cultures of ancient Peru. The Incas, who once ruled the region, are often cited as the inheritors of ancient knowledge. But what if the Ica stones are remnants of an even more ancient people, a civilization that predates the Incas by thousands of years? Such a civilization might have possessed advanced knowledge of biology, astronomy, and geology, perhaps even far beyond what we understand today. Could the Ica stones be a record of their achievements, etched into stone as a way of preserving their history for future generations? Others have ventured even further into speculative territory, suggesting that the carvings may be evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings. The depictions of humans interacting with dinosaurs, or of ancient technology such as advanced medical practices and flying machines, have led some to wonder if the Ica stones represent a form of communication from beings who visited Earth long before recorded history. While these ideas are often dismissed by mainstream scholars, the sheer complexity of the stone's imagery continues to fuel such theories. Could it be that the Ica stones were left by extraterrestrials as a message or a gift to humanity? Or are they simply a product of artistic imagination, created long after the dinosaurs had vanished from the Earth? There are also more grounded, albeit still speculative, explanations that consider the Ica stones as representations of ancient mythology or ritual. In many cultures, the idea of humans and animals, particularly dangerous or powerful ones, Coexisting is a common theme in myth. The stones could represent a symbolic narrative rather than a literal depiction of a prehistoric reality. Could the Ica Stones have been part of a religious or ceremonial practice, their carvings intended to convey stories or moral lessons about the relationship between humans and nature, or humans and the divine? Whatever the true explanation may be, the Ica Stones remain an enduring enigma. Despite extensive study and debate, the puzzle they present has yet to be solved. Are they ancient records, representing a long-lost civilization with knowledge far ahead of its time? Are they mere forgeries, created by modern hands with a flair for the dramatic? Or do they tell a more complex story, one that blends the fantastical with the historical, the mythical with the real? As we consider the Ica Stones and the mysteries they contain, we are reminded of the limits of our knowledge. The past, so often obscured by the passage of time, continues to yield its secrets only in fragments, sometimes puzzling, sometimes elusive, but always intriguing. What might we still be missing from these ancient stones, hidden in the desert of Peru, waiting for the right moment to reveal their truth? The answers may lie just beyond our grasp, as we continue to wonder about the hidden history of our world. As we leave the desert sands of Peru, we now turn our attention to the cold, rugged expanses of the Ural Mountains in Russia. Here, amidst the vast wilderness, a curious set of small metallic objects has been unearthed, objects that seem both utterly ordinary and yet mysteriously out of place. These are the Ural metal micro-objects, tiny artifacts that have puzzled researchers since their discovery. They are not large, imposing relics like the stones of Ica or the towering heads of the Olmec. Rather, these objects are minute, often no more than a few millimeters across. Yet their precision and composition suggest a level of craftsmanship that was unheard of in the prehistoric times from which they supposedly hail. The Ural metal micro-objects were first discovered in the 1990s, found in the alluvial deposits along the Chusovaya River, located in the Ural Mountains. The objects, sometimes described as micro-tools or metallic artifacts, were retrieved from layers of sediment that are believed to date back thousands of years, long before modern industrial civilization existed. The objects vary in shape, with some resembling tiny discs, others taking the form of miniature gears, while others appear to be more abstract or geometric in design. But regardless of their shape, one thing is clear. These objects display an incredible level of technical sophistication, far beyond what we would expect for the time period. What makes the Ural micro-objects particularly intriguing is the material from which they are made. Many of these objects are composed of metals that are not naturally found in the region, such as aluminum and a variety of alloys. This raises the first set of questions. How could prehistoric peoples have possessed the knowledge to work with metals like these, which were not discovered or utilized by civilizations until many centuries later? And how could they have produced such small, finely crafted objects using tools that we know they did not have? Some of these micro-objects are so finely detailed that it appears they were made with machinery. Precision machinery that would not exist for millennia. The mainstream explanation for the Ural metal micro-objects is that they are remnants of a long-lost, highly advanced civilization. Some archaeologists suggest that these objects could be evidence of an unknown culture that had a level of technological sophistication comparable to our own, but which mysteriously disappeared long before recorded history. Such a civilization, it is hypothesized, might have been capable of creating complex metalworking tools and machines, and could have left behind these tiny artifacts as part of their legacy. However, this theory remains speculative. The notion of an advanced civilization existing in prehistoric times, only to be lost without any trace in the historical record, is a difficult concept to accept. While the objects themselves are real, their origins and purpose remain enigmatic. Could these items have been produced by a forgotten culture, one that somehow mastered the art of metalworking long before it was supposedly possible? Or are there more practical explanations for their creation, ones that don't involve an unknown civilization but perhaps point to a misunderstanding of the object's true purpose? Another theory suggests that the Ural micro-objects might not be tools or artifacts at all, but rather some form of geological anomaly. Could the objects be naturally occurring formations, shaped by the forces of nature into the strange shapes they display? While this is an idea that has been put forward, the highly regular and uniform nature of the objects seems to contradict this explanation. Natural processes, while powerful, typically do not produce such precise and complex forms. The fact that some of these objects appear to be manufactured from alloys that were not in use until much later in history only deepens the mystery. Could they be evidence of contact with advanced cultures from distant lands, or even extraterrestrial visitors? An idea that is frequently speculated upon when dealing with anomalous artifacts? While such theories remain firmly on the fringe, the peculiarities of the micro-objects continue to fuel speculation about the true origins of these small yet significant pieces of metal. One of the more intriguing aspects of the Ural micro-objects is their potential connection to the much-debated notion of ancient astronauts or extraterrestrial visitors. Some proponents of this theory argue that the object's advanced design and material composition point to the possibility that these items were created with technology that was not available to human cultures at the time. Could these objects have been left behind by visitors from another world, whose understanding of metallurgy and engineering far exceeded that of any known civilization? The suggestion that ancient cultures might have been visited by extraterrestrial beings has been a topic of fascination for many, and the Ural metal micro-objects seem to fit neatly into this narrative, especially when you consider the precision required to craft such small and complex items. On the other hand, there are those who believe that the Ural micro-objects are part of a forgotten technological tradition, possibly connected to ancient forms of alchemy or even esoteric practices. Some researchers have suggested that the objects could be symbolic in nature, representing a lost knowledge system or a form of early scientific experimentation. These could be objects produced not for everyday use, but for ceremonial or spiritual purposes, perhaps crafted as part of a ritualistic tradition that aimed to harness the power of metallurgy in a symbolic or mystical sense. What is particularly puzzling about the Ural metal micro-objects is not just their strange appearance or their uncanny precision, but the fact that they have never been definitively linked to any known civilization. If these objects were indeed produced by an ancient culture, where are the other artifacts from this civilization? Why do the objects appear to be isolated, with no other cultural markers or tools that might help identify their creators? Could they be remnants of a civilization so old and so isolated that its traces were never recorded by history? Despite extensive study, no clear answers have emerged regarding the true nature of these micro-objects. Some researchers suggest that they may represent the remnants of a long-lost technology, forgotten and buried beneath layers of earth and time. Others argue that the objects could be products of more recent times, perhaps even a hoax. But given the uniqueness of these items, the mystery persists. Why do they appear to be made of advanced materials and designed with such precision? What does their discovery say about the capabilities of ancient civilizations? Or perhaps about our own misconceptions regarding what was possible in the distant past? The Ural metal micro-objects remain an unresolved puzzle, one that invites further exploration and speculation. Whether they were the products of an ancient, highly advanced civilization, artifacts created through some forgotten technology, or even something more extraordinary, the mystery they present continues to captivate those who seek to understand the true extent of human history. What other secrets lie hidden in the Ural Mountains, waiting to be uncovered? And what might these enigmatic objects tell us about the untold stories of our distant past? As we continue our journey through the enigmatic artifacts of the ancient world, we now find ourselves in the heart of Mesoamerica, where another puzzling relic has left archaeologists and historians scratching their heads. In the small Mexican town of Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca, near the foot of the towering Sierra de Ajusco Mountains, a striking stone head was discovered that would become one of the most mysterious archaeological finds in the region. The Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca Head, as it has come to be known, presents a riddle that continues to confound experts, a riddle that intertwines ancient culture, possible foreign influence, and even the possibility of a lost chapter of pre-Columbian history. The head itself, made from volcanic stone, is a monumental sculpture that stands out for both its artistry and its apparent anomaly. Unlike the more typical representations of Mesoamerican gods and rulers, such as the jaguar-shaped faces of the Olmec or the warrior-like figures of the Aztec, the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca head appears distinctly different. It is life-sized, measuring about 30 inches in height, and is believed to depict a male figure with finely detailed facial features, a broad nose, full lips, and large almond-shaped eyes. But what makes this head particularly extraordinary is not just its size or its fine craftsmanship. It's the features themselves, features that bear a striking resemblance to those of people from far beyond the Mesoamerican world. The head was uncovered in the 1930s, buried beneath the earth near the ruins of a major pre-Hispanic city that once served as the capital of the Toltec people, a culture known for its artistic and architectural achievements. Scholars initially believed the head to be a representation of a Toltec ruler or deity, in keeping with the region's traditional artistic styles. However, closer inspection revealed that the facial features on the head do not resemble those typically found in Toltec or other indigenous Mesoamerican art. Instead, the face appears to have traits more commonly associated with peoples of East Asian or possibly even Mediterranean descent. The rounded face, wide-set eyes, and full lips do not align with the sharply angular features typically seen in Mesoamerican sculptures. It is, quite simply, unlike anything else from the region. This anomaly has led to a variety of interpretations and theories about the true origin of the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca head. One of the more conventional explanations is that the head was made by the Toltecs themselves, but that it represents an idealized or symbolic version of a ruler or deity. In this view, the unusual features might be an artistic convention, a stylized portrayal that was meant to convey something specific, perhaps a divine or supernatural quality. Yet this explanation fails to account for the clear differences between the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca head and other contemporary Mesoamerican sculptures, which are known for their more exaggerated and often abstract representations of the human face. Another theory suggests that the head is not Toltec at all, but rather the work of an entirely different culture that lived in the region long before the Toltecs arrived. Some have speculated that the head could represent a figure from a forgotten or lost civilization, one whose artistic traditions did not survive the passage of time. In this case, the distinct features of the head might indicate that the artist was influenced by a culture that existed outside of the Mesoamerican cultural sphere, perhaps even a civilization from Asia, Africa, or the Mediterranean. This theory, of course, raises even more questions. How could such a distant culture have made its way to Mesoamerica, and why would they leave behind only this one fragment of their civilization? Did the peoples of ancient Mesoamerica have contact with far-flung cultures, long before the arrival of Europeans? A more speculative theory proposes that the head might be evidence of pre-Columbian transoceanic contact, a theory that has gained traction among certain fringe researchers, especially those who believe that ancient civilizations were far more interconnected than traditional history suggests. According to this theory, the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca head is a remnant of a forgotten cultural exchange, possibly between ancient Mesoamericans and people from distant parts of the world, such as Southeast Asia or even the distant Mediterranean. Proponents of this idea point to other examples of what they believe to be evidence of transoceanic contact, such as the presence of seemingly out-of-place artifacts in various regions of the world, and the shared similarities in ancient myths and architectural styles. But if such a connection exists, why is there so little evidence to support it? Why has this particular artifact and the people who might have created it left so few traces behind? And why, of all places, would they leave only a single, isolated sculpture in the heart of Mesoamerica? More grounded hypotheses suggest that the head may simply be the result of cultural diffusion. The idea of cultural diffusion, the spread of ideas, artistic styles, or technologies between civilizations, was once seen as unlikely in the pre-Columbian Americas, but increasing evidence points to the possibility that ancient peoples were more mobile and interconnected than we had once thought. In this context, the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca Head might represent a blending of indigenous Mesoamerican styles with influences from foreign traders or travelers who passed through the region. These people may have had facial features that were unusual by Mesoamerican standards, and the sculptors of the time may have attempted to capture them in a way that was both accurate and culturally significant. Yet while all these theories are fascinating, they fail to answer the most fundamental question: why does this head look so strikingly different from everything else that has been found in Mesoamerica? The artistic styles of the Toltecs, Aztecs, and other cultures in the region are well documented, yet the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca Head stands apart, too similar to certain old-world depictions of human faces, and yet not fitting comfortably into any known cultural context. What if this head is not just a curiosity or an outlier, but a clue, a remnant of a deeper, more complex history of human interaction and cultural exchange, one that stretches back to a time long before the civilizations we know today? Could it be that the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca Head is the only surviving piece of a much larger and more intricate story, a story that has been lost to time? As we consider the unusual features of the Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca Head, we are confronted with a broader question about the nature of ancient cultures. How much of the past remains hidden, waiting to be uncovered? How many clues, like this one, lie in wait, offering tantalizing glimpses of lost worlds and forgotten peoples? The head itself may never fully reveal its secrets, but it invites us to continue searching, to keep questioning the accepted narratives of history, and to wonder what might still be hidden beneath the layers of time. As we leave behind the mysterious Tecaxic-Calixtlahuaca Head, we now turn our attention to another enigma, this time from the highlands of Bolivia. Here, among the ancient ruins of Tiahuanaco, a small yet profoundly intriguing artifact was discovered, a stone bowl that has confounded scholars and historians for decades. Known as the Fuente Magna bowl, this object is notable not only for its craftsmanship, but also for the strange symbols inscribed upon its surface, symbols that suggest the possibility of an ancient civilization possessing knowledge that was thought to be impossible for its time. The Fuente Magna bowl is relatively unassuming at first glance. Made from a dense, dark stone, it is a simple, shallow vessel, measuring about 9 inches in diameter. The bowl itself is rather plain in form, with a wide, shallow curve that would make it suitable for holding liquids or food. Yet, what makes this seemingly mundane object extraordinary is the set of markings etched into its surface, markings that have sparked an ongoing debate about the origins and significance of the artifact. The symbols on the Fuente Magna bowl are a series of what appear to be Proto-Sumerian cuneiform characters. These are the earliest known forms of writing, used by the ancient Sumerians in Mesopotamia around 3500 BCE. The very presence of these symbols on a vessel from the Andes is an anomaly, one that immediately raises questions. How could these Sumerian-style symbols, which we associate with the ancient civilizations of the Near East, appear on an artifact from the Andean region, thousands of miles away? Could there have been contact between the civilizations of Mesopotamia and South America long before the time of the Incas? The bowl was discovered in the early 20th century in the area of the Fuente Magna Spring, near the ruins of Tiahuanaco, a site known for its massive stone structures and mysterious origins. Tiahuanaco itself has been a source of fascination for decades, with its strange and precisely cut stones, some of which appear to have been shaped with advanced tools that were far beyond what the civilizations of the region were thought to possess. The discovery of the Fuente Magna bowl at this site seemed to suggest that Tiahuanaco, or the people who lived there, may have been far more sophisticated than previously imagined. Mainstream archaeology has attempted to explain the Fuente Magna bowl as an artifact of the Tiwanaku civilization, an ancient Andean culture that flourished in the region around 1000 BCE to 1000 CE. The Tiwanaku people are known for their architectural prowess and for their impressive stonework, but they were also believed to have a deep spiritual connection to the cosmos, with many of their structures aligned with the stars. According to this view, the symbols on the Fuente Magna bowl could simply be a form of artistic or religious expression, possibly linked to the spiritual beliefs of the Tiwanaku or other contemporary cultures in the region. However, the Sumerian-like symbols on the bowl continue to present a major challenge to this explanation. Could they simply be a coincidence, the result of some form of regional stylistic influence? Or is it possible that the creators of the Fuente Magna bowl were influenced by an entirely different culture, one that, as some suggest, might have had contact with ancient South America? This theory is not new, and it draws upon the broader idea of pre-Columbian transoceanic contact, an idea that has been widely dismissed by most mainstream archaeologists, but one that has gained some traction among fringe researchers who argue that ancient civilizations were far more interconnected than we realize. Some researchers point to other, seemingly out-of-place artifacts that have appeared in the Americas, objects that suggest influences from Africa, the Near East, or even beyond. The Fuente Magna bowl, with its strange symbols, fits into this broader theory of ancient global interaction. Could it be that the Andean cultures, such as the Tiwanaku, were part of a much older and more complex network of trade, knowledge, and cultural exchange that stretched across continents? What if the knowledge of writing systems, such as the Sumerian cuneiform, had spread to the New World long before Columbus sailed across the Atlantic? The idea of transoceanic contact in pre-Columbian times is certainly a contentious one. Proponents argue that ancient civilizations were capable of far more than we give them credit for, especially in terms of maritime travel. Some suggest that the ancient peoples of the Americas might have had contact with sailors or explorers from other parts of the world, possibly even traveling across the oceans in large ocean-going vessels. This theory, though controversial, has found some support in the discovery of other anomalous objects, like the Bat Creek Stone in North America or the Werelinda Book, a text from the Netherlands that some believe contains references to ancient voyages across the Atlantic. Could the Fuente Magna bowl be another piece of the puzzle, a remnant of a time when distant cultures shared knowledge and traded across vast distances? However, the idea of ancient contact does not sit comfortably with all scholars. Many argue that the symbols on the Fuente Magna bowl are likely a product of local development and not the result of foreign influence. Some believe that the Tiwanaku people or another Andean culture might have independently developed a system of symbols that bears a passing resemblance to Sumerian writing, a form of parallel development, not unlike how different cultures around the world independently invented writing systems. In this view, the Fuente Magna bowl is simply a remarkable example of early Andean art, created by a culture that had its own ways of recording information. As with so many of the objects we've explored, The Fuente Magna bowl leaves us with more questions than answers. The presence of Sumerian-like symbols in the heart of the Andes continues to defy easy explanation. Could it truly be evidence of ancient transoceanic contact, a link between the Old World and the New World long before Columbus? Or is it merely an example of local innovation, a coincidence in the evolution of early writing? And if it is a product of a long-lost culture, who were the people who made it, and what happened to them? The Fuente Magna bowl is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, a puzzle that continues to challenge our understanding of ancient history. As we look at the symbols etched into its surface, we are reminded of how much we still have yet to uncover, how much of the past remains hidden from us, buried beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. What secrets might still be waiting in the dust of ancient ruins, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? The mystery of the Fuente Magna bowl, like so many others, may never be fully solved, but it invites us to keep searching, to keep asking the questions that could one day lead us to the answers. As we leave behind the mysteries of the Fuente Magna bowl and the ancient Andes, we now turn our focus to another enigma that has emerged from the depths of history, this time from the far reaches of ancient China. Hidden beneath the earth for millennia, the Sanxingdui masks are an astonishing discovery that has perplexed archaeologists, historians, and scholars alike. Unearthed from the ruins of a once thriving civilization, these extraordinary masks raise as many questions as they answer. Questions about ancient Chinese culture, the origin of its art, and the people who created these stunningly strange objects. The Sanxingdui site, located in the Sichuan province of China, was first discovered in 1929 when farmers stumbled upon a cache of strange artifacts while digging for construction purposes. But it wasn't until 1986, when large-scale excavation began, that the full extent of the site and the remarkable objects buried there was revealed. Among the most striking finds were the Sanxingdui masks, large, intricately carved facial masks made of bronze, with exaggerated features that defy the traditional aesthetics of ancient Chinese art. These masks, some of which measure over 2 feet in height, depict faces with large, almond-shaped eyes, prominent, sharp noses, and exaggerated ears, evoking a sense of both otherworldliness and power. Their expressions are intense, almost as though they are gazing out from a distant past, bearing witness to a culture that existed long before the rise of the Chinese imperial dynasties we are familiar with today. What makes the Sanxingdui masks so perplexing is not just their unusual appearance, but the fact that they appear to belong to a culture that is otherwise unknown in the historical record. The masks were discovered in association with a series of ritualistic objects, bronze statues, jade artifacts, and other ceremonial items that suggest they were part of a religious or spiritual practice. However, despite the wealth of material evidence, there is very little historical record of the people who created these masks, or the civilization that flourished at Sanxingdui. While the site dates back to the 12th to 11th centuries BCE, during the late Shang dynasty, the people of Sanxingdui do not appear to have had any connection to the dynastic cultures of ancient China as we know them. In fact, the artistic style and cultural practices associated with Sanxingdui are so unique that they have led some scholars to question whether this civilization was part of the same cultural continuum as the later Chinese dynasties. The masks themselves are made primarily of bronze, a material that was commonly used in ancient China for ritual objects and ceremonial vessels. However, their unusual design, particularly the exaggerated facial features, sets them apart from other ancient Chinese artifacts. In traditional Chinese art, faces were typically portrayed in a more restrained, balanced manner. The Sanxingdui masks, in contrast, feature eyes that are unnaturally large, sometimes almost bulging, and noses and ears that are sharply defined, suggesting an artistic sensibility that was both distinctive and striking. What were these masks meant to represent? Were they the faces of gods or ancestors, as some have suggested? Or were they symbolic representations of spiritual or cosmic forces drawn from a worldview that is now lost to us? Adding to the mystery is the fact that the Sanxingdui civilization seems to have disappeared suddenly, with no clear explanation for its collapse. The site at Sanxingdui was abandoned around the 8th century BCE, and by the time later Chinese dynasties, such as the Zhou, rose to prominence, there was no trace of the culture that had created these masks. The masks themselves were buried in pits, along with other artifacts, perhaps as part of a ritual offering or burial custom. But why was this site abandoned, and why did this culture, which appeared to be flourishing, vanish without leaving behind a clear historical legacy? Mainstream historians have suggested that the Sanxingdui people were likely part of the broader Shang culture, possibly a vassal state or a regional variation of the Shang dynasty. The Shang, who ruled from roughly the 16th to the 11th centuries BCE, are known for their advanced use of bronze and their complex religious rituals. It is possible that the people of Sanxingdui were influenced by Shang artistic styles and religious practices, but the distinctive features of their art, the large, exaggerated faces on the masks, the unusual proportions, and the lack of written records suggest that the Sanxingdui culture may have been more independent than previously thought. Could it be that the people of Sanxingdui were a group that existed on the fringes of the Shang dynasty, maintaining their own distinct identity and artistic traditions, only to be subsumed by a more powerful and centralized state? However, there are also more radical theories that challenge the conventional view of the Sanxingdui masks as simply another regional variation of Chinese culture. Some researchers have suggested that the masks could be evidence of an entirely different civilization, one that predated the Shang or coexisted alongside it, but whose legacy was lost due to war, climate change, or other factors. This theory is bolstered by the fact that the masks, along with other Sanxingdui artifacts, seem to have no clear connection to any other known culture in ancient China. Their unique style and the apparent isolation of the site suggest that the Sanxingdui people might have had little contact with other civilizations of their time, making their art and culture all the more enigmatic. Some fringe theories even speculate that the Sanxingdui masks could be evidence of contact with ancient extraterrestrial visitors. The large, almond-shaped eyes on the masks, which bear an uncanny resemblance to the alien figures often depicted in modern UFO lore, have led some to wonder if the people of Sanxingdui were depicting beings from another world. While this theory is not widely accepted among mainstream scholars, it continues to capture the imagination of those who believe that ancient cultures may have been influenced by outside forces. The mystery of the Sanxingdui masks deepens when we consider the context in which they were found. The site of Sanxingdui was not only a place of ritual and ceremonial importance, but it also appears to have been a center of power and prestige. The masks were found alongside bronze statues, large ceremonial vessels, and intricate jade artifacts, items that suggest a culture of great wealth and social complexity. Yet, despite the apparent sophistication of this civilization, the absence of written records from the site makes it impossible to definitively understand the role these masks played in the lives of the people who created them. Were they part of a religious ritual, a political symbol, or something else entirely? As with so many of the mysterious artifacts we have explored, the Sanxingdui masks leave us with more questions than answers. Were they simply the product of a regional variation of ancient Chinese culture, or do they represent a forgotten civilization whose story has been lost to time? Could the Sanxingdui people have been more connected to the broader world of ancient China than we realize? Or were they truly an isolated culture, with no ties to the dynasties that followed? And what was the true significance of the masks themselves, symbols of power, of the divine, or of something more? The mystery remains unsolved, inviting us to continue asking questions, to continue exploring, and to wonder what other secrets of ancient China might still be waiting to be uncovered. As we leave the distant echoes of ancient China behind, we now turn our attention to an object that, while much closer to our own time, defies conventional understanding in a very different way. Hidden deep in the heart of Romania, an artifact was uncovered in 1974, one that would challenge our ideas of technology and history. Known as the Wedge of Aiud, this peculiar object is not just a strange relic, it has become one of the most perplexing mysteries in the world of archaeology. The Wedge of Aiud is a small metal object, roughly triangular in shape and made of an alloy that bears little resemblance to anything produced by ancient cultures. The object was discovered during an excavation near the town of Aiud in central Romania by workers digging a gravel pit along the Mureș River. What makes the wedge so extraordinary isn't just its metal composition or its shape, but its supposed age. The artifact was found embedded in a layer of sediment that, according to carbon dating, is over 11,000 years old, a time long before any known civilization in the region would have had access to such advanced metallurgy. The wedge itself measures about 12 centimeters in length and 7 centimeters in width, with a tapered edge that suggests it might have been used for cutting or carving. At first glance, it could be mistaken for a modern tool, but the material of the object sets it apart. The Wedge of Aiud is made of a strange non-ferrous alloy, primarily composed of aluminum, a metal that was not discovered until the 19th century. Its unusual composition has led many to question how an object made of such a material could have existed in an era long before modern industry or metallurgy. What is particularly puzzling is the context in which the object was found. The wedge was discovered deep within a layer of sediment, embedded in the same strata as mammoth bones, indicating that it was buried during the Pleistocene epoch, around 11,000 years ago. This was a time when early human societies were still in the midst of the Stone Age. The idea that a highly advanced metallic object could be buried alongside extinct animals, like the mammoth, raises questions about the true nature of human history. The mainstream explanation for the Wedge of Aiud is that it is simply a more recent artifact, possibly a modern object that found its way into the sediment through some kind of disturbance or misplacement. But this explanation does little to account for the fact that the object was found in such an unusual context, far removed from any known human settlement from the prehistoric era. Some scholars believe that the wedge might have been dropped or discarded by someone during a much later time, then buried by the forces of nature. However, this theory seems to struggle against the evidence of the sediment's age and the peculiar, seemingly ancient properties of the object itself. Another explanation suggests that the Wedge of Aiud could be a remnant of a lost or unknown civilization, one that possessed technology far beyond what we currently associate with ancient peoples. This theory posits that there may have been an advanced civilization, possibly one that existed in the distant past, long before the rise of the Sumerians, Egyptians, or any other known ancient cultures. If such a civilization existed, it might have possessed the ability to forge metals like aluminum, perhaps even utilizing methods that have been lost to history. The idea of a technologically advanced, prehistorical civilization is a tantalizing one, but it remains purely speculative. If such a civilization did exist, why is there no clear evidence of it? No other artifacts, structures, or written records that could support its existence? This question brings us to an even more fringe theory, that the Wedge of Aiud might not be human-made at all. Some proponents of this theory suggest that the artifact could be of extraterrestrial origin. The peculiar shape and material composition of the wedge have led some to speculate that it could be a piece of advanced technology left behind by alien visitors. While there is no direct evidence to support such a claim, the idea of ancient extraterrestrial contact has become a popular narrative in the realm of alternative history. Could it be that the Wedge of Aiud is a remnant of some otherworldly presence, an object that is as alien in origin as it is in appearance? Despite the intrigue surrounding these more speculative ideas, the Wedge of Aiud does not fit neatly into any one category. It remains an object of mystery, one that resists easy explanation. Some have suggested that the wedge might be part of a larger and yet-to-be-discovered technological legacy from ancient times. Could it be that we are simply too limited in our understanding of ancient metallurgy to recognize the true origins of such an object? After all, modern archaeologists have long struggled to reconcile the technological achievements of ancient cultures with the conventional narrative of human progress. Perhaps the Wedge of Aiud is a clue, a remnant of a forgotten chapter of human history, one that might force us to rethink everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. Then there's the possibility that the Wedge of Aiud is part of a much older, undiscovered history of humanity. The idea of ancient civilizations predating the known history of humankind has been suggested by some researchers who believe that advanced societies may have existed long before the conventional timeline of human development. Could the wedge be a fragment of technology from a civilization lost to the ravages of time, one that predates even the rise of Stone Age cultures? This theory challenges the very foundation of our understanding of ancient history and human evolution, suggesting that there may have been lost epochs, periods of history that are entirely absent from our current understanding. As we consider the Wedge of Aiud, we are reminded of the vastness of the unknown. No matter how many theories we entertain or how many experiments we conduct, this artifact refuses to yield a definitive explanation. The alloy from which it is made, the context in which it was found, and its peculiar design all suggest that it might be far more than a simple mislaid tool. It is a symbol of our collective ignorance, a reminder that, no matter how far we have come in uncovering the past, there are still mysteries that slip through the cracks, waiting to be discovered. The Wedge of Aiud remains an unresolved puzzle, one that invites us to think beyond the boundaries of what we know and to consider the possibility that there is far more to the story of human history than we've yet uncovered. What if this mysterious wedge is not just a singular oddity, but a key to something larger, something that has yet to be fully understood? And what might we discover if we continue to follow the clues, no matter how strange or improbable they may seem? As with so many other unsolved archaeological mysteries, the Wedge of Aiud leaves us with more questions than answers, challenging us to keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep searching for the hidden truths of the ancient world. As we continue to explore the mysteries that lie buried beneath the earth, we now turn to an object that, unlike many of the artifacts we've encountered, has remained somewhat of a shadow in the broader conversation of ancient history. This object is not only mysterious, but ancient in a way that challenges our understanding of early human culture. It is known as the Shigir Idol, a towering wooden sculpture found deep in the Ural Mountains of Russia. The idol was unearthed in 1890 by a group of miners working in the bogs near the town of Shigir, and its discovery set the stage for a fascinating and puzzling mystery that has continued to intrigue archaeologists and historians. Standing at an imposing height of 2.8 meters, almost 9 feet, the Shigir Idol is the oldest known wooden sculpture in the world, estimated to be about 12,000 years old. This discovery, buried in the peat of the Ural Mountains, predates the pyramids of Egypt, Stonehenge, and even the earliest known art from the caves of Lascaux by thousands of years. The idol itself is carved from the trunk of a giant larch tree, and its surface is adorned with intricate geometric patterns and symbols. These carvings are unlike anything seen in other known prehistoric artifacts. The idol's face is composed of elongated angular features, with narrow slits for eyes and a sharp, defined mouth. The body of the figure is segmented, with patterns that seem to represent a form of communication or symbolic language. The carvings themselves are deeply enigmatic, with no clear consensus about what they might represent or signify. At the time of its discovery, the idol's massive size and detailed craftsmanship sent shockwaves through the academic world, especially considering that it was found in a remote, rugged area far from the known centers of early human civilization. How could a people, living at a time when most humans were still hunter-gatherers, have created such a sophisticated and symbolic object? The Shigir Idol does not fit neatly into any known cultural framework of early human societies. The mainstream explanation, put forth by many early scholars, was that the idol was a religious or ceremonial object, likely created by the hunter-gatherer groups of the region as a representation of their spiritual beliefs. It is often suggested that the carvings on the idol could represent the passage of time, cosmic elements, or the relationship between humans and nature, though the exact meaning remains elusive. Some theorists have suggested that the idol was meant to be a representation of a god or a powerful ancestral figure, while others argue that it may have been a marker of territory or even a totem meant to connect the people with the spirit world. However, the more closely we examine the Shigir Idol, the more it seems to suggest something that goes beyond simple religious iconography. The intricacy of the carvings, especially those on the figure's torso, has led some scholars to believe that the idol might have been a complex system of storytelling, perhaps even one that documented the mythology, the history, or the cosmology of the people who created it. The patterns are so precise and varied that they suggest a sophisticated symbolic language, one that might have been used to convey ideas, stories, or even rituals in a way we still don't fully understand. Was this idol an early form of writing, or simply a pictorial representation of the beliefs and customs of an ancient people? But the mystery of the Shigir Idol does not stop there. The idol's age, combined with the seemingly advanced nature of its craftsmanship, raises even deeper questions. At over 12,000 years old, the Shigir Idol predates the known civilization of the region by millennia. At the time it was created, the people living in the Ural Mountains were still in the Upper Paleolithic period, long before the rise of agriculture, writing, or complex societies. Yet the level of artistry and precision in the carvings suggests a society capable of advanced cultural expression. Could it be that the creators of the Shigir Idol were part of a much older civilization, one that has left behind no trace in the archaeological record? This idea, while speculative, raises the possibility that humanity's cultural history may have been far more complex than we currently understand. One of the most baffling aspects of the idol is its preservation. The Shigir Idol was buried in a peat bog, a type of wetland that, over time, preserves organic material in a near-perfect state. The idol's wooden surface has retained its sharp carvings, and traces of pigment can still be seen in the deeper grooves. But even more extraordinary is the fact that the idol was preserved for thousands of years without the decay typically associated with ancient wooden artifacts. Could the idol's preservation offer clues to the conditions under which it was buried? Or might it hint at a method of preservation known only to its creators, one that has been lost to time? Some researchers have suggested that the idol's incredible preservation may not be a natural accident, but rather a result of some kind of ritual or deliberate burial. Was the idol, in its original context, perhaps part of a larger ceremonial site or temple? Was it a marker for the sacred, placed carefully in the earth for reasons we may never fully understand? And if the idol was created by a people who had the ability to preserve such artifacts, what else might have been lost from their culture, hidden beneath the earth or drowned in time? As with so many ancient artifacts, the Shigir Idol raises far more questions than it answers. The deeper we dig into its history, the more it challenges our understanding of prehistoric human culture. Was it a religious idol, a historical record, a form of ancient writing? Or perhaps something entirely different, an object whose purpose and meaning were far beyond our reach. It speaks to an ancient people who left no written language, no monuments or cities, and yet created a remarkable artifact that defies explanation. Could there have been civilizations that preceded the known cultures of the Near East, Europe, or Asia? Cultures whose stories were lost in the mists of time, but whose legacy endures in strange and enigmatic objects like the Shigir Idol? Could this idol be a key to unlocking a forgotten history? One that tells of a time before recorded history, a time when humans were still forging their path on the earth? As we look at the Shigir Idol, we are reminded of the vast expanse of human history that remains shrouded in mystery. The idol's intricate carvings and ancient design invite us to consider how much we have yet to learn about our own past. The mystery of the Shigir Idol is far from solved. And perhaps in the end, the idol's greatest lesson is not just in what it reveals, but in how much still remains hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. As we move away from the enigmatic figures of ancient wooden carvings and step further into the world of lost technologies, we find ourselves confronting one of the most mind-bending discoveries of the ancient world, the Antikythera Mechanism. Unearthed in 1901 by a group of Greek divers off the coast of the island of Antikythera, this ancient device has baffled researchers for over a century. Known as the world's first analog computer, the Antikythera Mechanism has raised questions not only about the technological capabilities of the ancient Greeks, but also about the very nature of human knowledge and its evolution over time. The Antikythera Mechanism is a small, intricate set of bronze gears discovered among the wreckage of a Roman-era ship that sank around 60 BCE. When the device was first retrieved, it appeared to be little more than a mass of corroded metal, with no obvious indications of its purpose. But as the years passed, and as modern technology allowed for more sophisticated analysis, it became clear that the Antikythera Mechanism was something far more remarkable than anyone had imagined. The mechanism is housed within a wooden frame, roughly the size of a modern shoebox, and consists of at least 30 interlocking gears. These gears are finely crafted, each with teeth so precise they could rival the craftsmanship of modern machinery. The device is thought to have been used to predict astronomical positions, tracking the movement of the sun, the moon, and even the planets. It could also have been used to calculate eclipses, phases of the moon, and the timing of various celestial events. The level of mechanical sophistication required to create such a device in the ancient world is nothing short of astonishing. At its core, the Antikythera Mechanism functions much like a complex clock, but it predates the earliest known clocks by more than a millennium. Its gears, many of which have been painstakingly reconstructed, reveal a system of interlocking dials and pointers, some of which correspond to different cycles of the moon and the sun. There are indications that the device may have even been able to predict the timing of the ancient Olympic Games based on the cycles of the moon, adding another layer of mystery to its intended use. The question of who could have constructed such a device, and why, remains at the heart of the Antikythera Mechanism's mystery. Mainstream scholars have long believed that the mechanism was a product of Hellenistic Greek technology, specifically created by Greek scientists and inventors. The device has been attributed to the ancient Greek philosopher and inventor Archimedes, or perhaps one of his contemporaries, though there is no direct evidence to support this. The Greeks, after all, were well known for their contributions to mathematics and engineering, and figures like Archimedes are credited with developing early theories of mechanics and technology. The idea that the Antikythera Mechanism was a tool designed to track celestial events seems to fit with the Greek intellectual tradition, particularly their interest in the heavens and the development of early astronomical models. But despite this plausible explanation, there are aspects of the device that remain perplexing. For one, the sophistication of the mechanism itself is unlike anything else from the period. In fact, no other mechanical devices of comparable complexity have been found from this era, and the skill required to build such a machine seems to surpass what we might expect from the ancient Greek world. Some researchers have suggested that the knowledge needed to create the Antikythera mechanism might have been inherited from an earlier, more advanced civilization, one that has left no other trace in the historical record. Could the Greeks have inherited this technology from a much older culture, perhaps one that was lost to time? This theory raises the possibility that the Antikythera mechanism might not be the product of the Greek world at all, but rather a relic of a much older civilization, perhaps a civilization that possessed advanced technological knowledge that the Greeks were only beginning to comprehend. Some fringe theorists have pointed to the advanced metallurgy and intricate craftsmanship of the device as evidence of such a lost civilization, one that could have had access to technologies far beyond what we thought was possible in the ancient world. Another possibility, one that has gained some attention in recent years, is that the Antikythera mechanism might have been part of a broader network of ancient technology, shared across cultures and regions. Could it be that ancient civilizations, connected by trade or exploration, exchanged not only goods and ideas, but also advanced technological knowledge? The device's origins remain a mystery, but it is possible that it was one piece of a larger technological heritage, one that may have been lost or deliberately suppressed. Still, the most intriguing question about the Antikythera mechanism is what it says about the nature of human knowledge and its development. If such a device existed more than 2,000 years ago, it suggests that the ancients were capable of much more than we typically credit them for. The mechanism's precision and complexity raise the possibility that early humans possessed a level of intellectual sophistication far ahead of their time. But if such knowledge existed, why didn't it lead to the development of other similar technologies? Why was the Antikythera mechanism seemingly forgotten, or lost to the pages of history? Was it a singular breakthrough that never caught on? Or was there once a more widespread understanding of mechanical engineering that was lost over time? Some have speculated that the decline of this technology could be linked to the fall of the Greek and Roman empires, which led to a temporary loss of knowledge in the West during the so-called Dark Ages. The fall of great civilizations often results in a loss of cultural and technological achievements, and it's possible that the knowledge required to build devices like the Antikythera mechanism was lost during this period. Could it be that the rise of Christianity and the subsequent destruction of many ancient texts and artifacts contributed to the suppression of certain forms of knowledge, including that of advanced technology? There are also more fringe theories that point to the possibility of extraterrestrial influence. The idea that the Antikythera mechanism could be evidence of ancient contact with advanced beings from another world has captured the imagination of some researchers, though it remains highly speculative. Could it be that such knowledge came from beyond Earth? While there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, the astonishing complexity of the mechanism does leave us wondering whether our ancestors might have had access to ideas and technologies that we are only now beginning to comprehend. Whatever the truth may be, the Antikythera mechanism remains one of the most extraordinary objects ever discovered. It challenges our understanding of ancient human capabilities and forces us to question the assumptions we hold about the development of technology and knowledge. How much of the ancient world remains hidden, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself? What other mysteries lie buried beneath the sea, waiting for us to discover them? As with so many of the unexplained artifacts we've encountered, the Antikythera mechanism leaves us with more questions than answers. And perhaps that, in itself, is the most compelling mystery of all. As we step further into the heart of Central America, we encounter another mystery that has defied simple explanations for decades: the stone spheres of Costa Rica. Scattered across the dense jungles of the Diquís Delta, these perfectly spherical stones, some of which weigh several tons, have intrigued archaeologists, historians, and explorers ever since their discovery. How did a society, with relatively simple tools, manage to create objects of such precision? And perhaps more importantly, what purpose did these enigmatic stones serve? The first recorded discovery of these curious spheres was in 1939, though local legends and indigenous people had known of them long before. As the dense rainforest was cleared for agriculture and construction in the 1940s and 1950s, more and more of these stones were uncovered, some as large as 2.5 meters in diameter. What stands out about the stones is not just their size, but the almost uncanny perfection with which they were shaped. Nearly every one of them is an almost perfect sphere, with some being so symmetrical that they appear to be crafted using modern tools and technology, despite the fact they were supposedly created centuries ago, if not earlier. The stones are primarily composed of limestone, though some are made of other types of stone, such as basalt or granite. What is particularly striking is the consistency of their shapes. Most of the spheres are perfectly round, with some having a smooth surface, while others have rougher exteriors. The sheer quantity and size of these spheres suggest that they were part of an organized, large-scale effort, likely created by an advanced culture. Yet, despite their widespread discovery, no written records or clear explanations exist as to who made them, when they were made, or for what purpose. The mainstream view, supported by most archaeologists, is that the spheres were crafted by the pre-Columbian cultures of the Tecaxic region, most notably the Corotega and other indigenous groups of the area. These societies, which lived in what is now southern Costa Rica, are known to have worked with stone tools, and the spherical stones are often seen as the product of skilled craftsmanship and symbolic ritual. According to this view, the spheres may have had religious or astronomical significance. Some researchers suggest that they were used as markers, perhaps signifying territorial boundaries, or even as symbols of power and prestige, representing the ability to control such an intricate and labor-intensive process. While this explanation fits with what we know about the indigenous cultures of the region, it still leaves many questions unanswered. How did these societies, with their relatively limited technological resources, produce such precise shapes? Even today, creating perfect spheres from stone with the tools available in pre-Columbian times would be a difficult task. The precision and symmetry of the spheres seem almost impossible for a people working with basic stone tools and rudimentary methods. Could the spheres have been produced using methods that are now lost to history? And why the emphasis on such perfect spherical forms? Was it purely aesthetic, or did the shape have a deeper meaning? Some have suggested that the spheres were part of an advanced system of knowledge, perhaps related to astronomy or cosmology. Could they have been markers, placed in specific locations in alignment with celestial events, as some theories propose? The idea that ancient cultures may have used large stone structures for astronomical observations is not new, and it is possible that the spheres served a similar purpose, perhaps even tracking the cycles of the moon or the movements of the stars. The location of the spheres, often found in specific patterns, has also fueled this theory. Were they arranged deliberately to form some kind of celestial map, or were they aligned to mark the changing seasons or significant astronomical phenomena? There is also the possibility that the spheres served a more ceremonial or symbolic function. Some researchers believe that the spherical stones were used in rituals or as part of spiritual practices. Could they represent a cosmic or spiritual balance, as the perfect symmetry of the spheres could suggest a belief in universal harmony or order? This theory is supported by the fact that many of the stones are found near burial sites or ceremonial locations, which could indicate that they held some religious significance for the ancient societies that created them. But not all explanations are grounded in the established academic narrative. Over the years, more fringe theories have emerged that suggest a much more mysterious origin for the stone spheres. One popular and highly speculative idea is that the stones were not created by indigenous cultures at all, but instead represent the work of a lost, advanced civilization that predated even the known pre-Columbian societies. Some suggest that the spheres were crafted by an ancient race of people with advanced technology or knowledge that has since been forgotten. Could the stones have been the product of an ancient civilization that possessed tools and techniques far beyond what we thought was possible for the time? Was there a lost technological legacy that once existed in the Americas, one that was wiped out by catastrophe, warfare, or the rise of later cultures? Other theories veer even further from mainstream archaeology, suggesting that the stones might be linked to extraterrestrial visitors. The idea that alien beings once visited Earth and left behind evidence of their presence, whether in the form of strange artifacts or advanced technology, is a recurring theme in alternative history. The precision with which the stones are carved, along with their unusual location and symmetry, has led some to suggest that they might be the remnants of an alien civilization, or perhaps markers left by extraterrestrials who interacted with ancient human cultures. While this idea is largely dismissed by mainstream scholars, it nevertheless continues to captivate the imagination of those who believe in ancient astronauts or extraterrestrial influence. Adding to the mystery is the fact that many of the spheres were moved from their original locations during the 20th century, some being relocated for display in museums or removed for private collections. This has made it difficult to establish a clear understanding of their original arrangement and purpose. Did the spheres once form a larger, more complex structure or pattern, now lost to time? Was there a grander design that was deliberately altered or destroyed? Despite these various theories, the stone spheres of Costa Rica remain one of the most puzzling archaeological anomalies in the world. The craftsmanship, scale, and apparent significance of the spheres suggest that they were created by a culture with knowledge and skills that we have yet to fully understand. Yet, their precise purpose and the culture that created them remain a mystery. Were they simply tools for marking time, sacred objects of ritual, or symbols of a long-forgotten people who left no other trace of their existence? Or could they represent something more, perhaps a hidden message, a cosmic blueprint, or a piece of a larger puzzle about humanity's ancient past? The stone spheres, like so many other archaeological enigmas, leave us with more questions than answers. Their silent presence in the jungles of Costa Rica calls out for a deeper understanding of who made them, why, and how they were used. And as we continue to uncover the secrets of the past, we are reminded that for every discovery, there are still many mysteries that remain just out of reach, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. As we journey deeper into the highlands of the Andes, we arrive at one of the most puzzling archaeological sites on Earth, Puma Punku. Situated near the ancient city of Tiwanaku, in modern-day Bolivia, Puma Punku is a collection of massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, that have been cut and shaped with such precision that even the most advanced tools of today would struggle to replicate them. This site, with its unfinished and seemingly chaotic layout, is a silent testament to a civilization whose knowledge of stonework, engineering, and design still baffles archaeologists and historians. At first glance, Puma Punku's massive stone blocks seem almost impossible to move, let alone carve with the kind of precision that we see at the site. The stone structures and carved faces that populate the area are made from a reddish sandstone, some of which are so finely cut that they appear almost like modern concrete slabs. The edges of the stones are perfectly straight, the corners right-angled to a precision that would be a challenge for even today's laser-guided machinery. What makes the site even more perplexing is that the stones are not carved in the way one might expect from a civilization known for its basic tools. Instead, the cuts appear as though they were made with an almost industrial level of precision. Puma Punku is part of the larger Tiwanaku complex, a site that was once the center of a sprawling ancient city believed to have flourished between 500 and 1000 AD. The Tiwanaku culture is known for its impressive achievements in agriculture, metallurgy, and construction. Yet despite the considerable size and influence of the civilization, very little is known about how they achieved such extraordinary feats of engineering, especially at Puma Punku. The standout feature of Puma Punku is the quality of the stonework. The massive stone blocks, some of which weigh as much as 130 tons, have been cut with such accuracy that it is difficult to understand how the ancient builders could have achieved this level of precision. The cuts are straight, the angles sharp, and many of the stones fit together so seamlessly that a piece of paper cannot fit between them. How did these builders, with their rudimentary tools and lack of advanced machinery, manage to shape and transport such enormous stones? And why was it necessary to do so with such meticulous precision? Mainstream archaeology suggests that the Tiwanaku people achieved these feats using a combination of basic stone tools, ropes, and levers, technology that, while certainly impressive for its time, doesn't seem to fully explain the extraordinary craftsmanship on display at Puma Punku. The complexity of the cuts, as well as the sheer scale of the blocks, leads some archaeologists to question whether the Tiwanaku people had access to advanced knowledge or techniques that have been lost to time. Could they have possessed a level of understanding of materials and engineering far beyond what we currently attribute to pre-Columbian cultures? Some researchers argue that Puma Punku was a religious or ceremonial site, built to honor the gods, or perhaps as a place of astronomical observation. This would make sense, given the symbolic significance of the site and its connection to the broader Tiwanaku culture, which had an extensive knowledge of celestial events and calendar systems. The fact that some of the stones at Puma Punku align with key astronomical events, such as the solstices and equinoxes, suggests that the site could have served a dual function, as both a ceremonial center and a place for observing the heavens. But the mysteries of Puma Punku go beyond just the quality of the stonework. The site's layout, with its disorganized arrangement of blocks and half-finished structures, raises another question. Why was this site left in such an incomplete state? It is possible that Puma Punku was abandoned before its construction could be fully realized, but the reasons for this remain unclear. Was the site ever fully functional, or was it a work in progress that was abandoned for reasons we may never fully understand? And if it was abandoned, what caused such a sudden and dramatic departure from the city? Some theorists suggest that Puma Punku's construction might have been interrupted by some kind of catastrophe, be it natural or man-made, leaving the site in its current fragmented state. Adding to the mystery is the nature of the stonework itself. While some stones were clearly cut with great precision, others appear to have been worked in ways that are not immediately understandable. Some of the blocks have perfectly round holes drilled into them, as though they were designed to fit some sort of fixture or fastener. The presence of these drilled holes is another enigma, as there is no consensus as to how such small, perfectly round holes could have been made using only basic tools. And what, exactly, were these holes meant to hold? Could Puma Punku have been part of a much larger system, perhaps one that incorporated moving parts or mechanical devices? Perhaps the most intriguing question raised by Puma Punku is not just how it was built, but why it was built in the first place. The site seems to defy the functional needs of the Tiwanaku people, who were known for their advanced agricultural techniques and their impressive architectural projects elsewhere. Why dedicate so much effort to the creation of such a complex and precisely designed site in a relatively remote area? What was the purpose of the site's intricate stonework, and why were the stones arranged in such a seemingly random fashion? Was Puma Punku intended to serve as a monument, a ceremonial center, or perhaps a tool for some kind of advanced scientific or astronomical observation? The possibility that the site was created for purposes beyond the comprehension of modern archaeologists raises the question of what knowledge and skills the ancient Tiwanaku people might have possessed, and whether that knowledge has been lost to history. Some fringe theories have gone even further, suggesting that the precision of Puma Punku's stonework could point to the influence of an ancient, advanced civilization that preceded the Tiwanaku people. According to this idea, the builders of Puma Punku may have been part of a much older civilization, one that possessed knowledge of advanced technology, or even extraterrestrial visitors who shared their wisdom. These ideas, while speculative, reflect the profound sense of mystery that Puma Punku continues to evoke. The precision of the cuts, the size of the stones, and the seemingly unfinished nature of the site all suggest that there may have been forces at work that we are only beginning to understand. The mystery of Puma Punku remains unsolved. Despite decades of study, the site continues to defy easy explanation. How were the stones cut with such precision? How were they transported across vast distances without the technology we assume was necessary? And why was the site left unfinished? These questions linger, inviting us to look beyond the conventional narratives and consider the possibility that Puma Punku was part of a far more complex and advanced cultural system than we are capable of understanding. Could the answers lie in the past, hidden beneath the earth, or is there still something waiting to be discovered that will change our understanding of ancient human achievement? As we consider these questions, we are reminded that some mysteries remain resolutely unsolved. Puma Punku is not just a site. It is a riddle wrapped in stone, waiting to reveal its secrets to those willing to look deeper. And perhaps, in the end, the greatest mystery of all is not just the how and the why of Puma Punku's creation, but what it tells us about the unknown history of humanity itself. As we leave behind the stone and metal mysteries of ancient civilizations, we now turn our attention to one of the most perplexing and enigmatic documents ever to have survived the ravages of time: the Voynich Manuscript. Hidden within its fragile vellum pages is a riddle that has remained unsolved for centuries. A book written in a language no one can understand, containing strange and unidentifiable botanical illustrations, bizarre astrological diagrams, and enigmatic symbols that defy all attempts at interpretation. The manuscript was first brought to modern attention in 1912 when it was purchased by the rare books dealer Wilfrid Voynich. Voynich, a Polish-born scholar, discovered the manuscript in an obscure Italian monastery, and since then, the book has captivated scholars, cryptographers, linguists, and conspiracy theorists alike. Despite its age, the Voynich manuscript appears to have been written with a remarkable degree of sophistication, and it remains one of the most enduring puzzles in the world of historical research. The manuscript itself consists of 240 pages, though some are missing, and its contents are divided into several distinct sections. The most striking feature of the book is its alphabet, which is composed of a set of characters that have never been seen in any known language. The text is arranged in a flowing script that seems to follow consistent grammatical rules, yet no one has been able to match its symbols to any language, ancient or modern. What's more, the manuscript contains no direct references to known cultural or historical systems, further deepening the mystery. The illustrations within the manuscript only add to its intrigue. Among the pages are detailed depictions of plants, some of which bear a resemblance to real species, while others appear to be entirely invented. There are strange, otherworldly figures, some with human features, others with animal characteristics. The manuscript also contains elaborate astrological charts, suggesting a connection between the text and some form of cosmology or astronomy, though its exact meaning remains elusive. Some pages feature what appear to be detailed recipes or instructions for the preparation of medicinal potions, though the ingredients listed are often unfamiliar or unidentifiable. So far, all attempts to decipher the text have failed. Linguists and cryptographers have spent decades working to crack the code of the Voynich Manuscript, but despite numerous efforts, ranging from traditional decryption methods to advanced computer analysis, the text remains completely unreadable. Some have suggested that the manuscript could be a form of coded language, perhaps intended to conceal knowledge from outsiders or to protect secret information. Others have proposed that it is a hoax, a medieval prank designed to confound future generations. But the manuscript's complexity, as well as the consistency of its internal structure, makes such an explanation seem unlikely. There are a few mainstream theories about the origins of the Voynich manuscript. Some scholars believe that the manuscript was created during the Renaissance, possibly by an alchemist or a member of the intellectual elite. Its strange, often mystical imagery, combined with the references to astrology and medicine, suggests it could be the work of someone deeply involved in the occult or arcane knowledge. The idea that the manuscript might be a kind of grimoire, a magical or alchemical text filled with secret wisdom, has long been a subject of speculation. The presence of elaborate herbal illustrations, paired with incomprehensible recipes, might point to the work of someone trying to record ancient knowledge of medicinal plants, but in a way that obscures the true meaning. Another theory posits that the Voynich manuscript was written as a private journal or codebook, intended for personal use and not meant for public consumption. In this interpretation, the manuscript could be the work of a scholar who developed a unique language or writing system, perhaps as a form of personal encryption. The fact that the language is not related to any known systems of the time complicates this theory, but it is still plausible that the manuscript was meant to be a private record, rather than a document for widespread circulation. Yet, despite these explanations, the mystery of the Voynich manuscript has proven remarkably resistant to conventional scholarly approaches. Some researchers have suggested that the manuscript's language could be an entirely new form of writing, one that belongs to an unknown or lost civilization, perhaps one that existed long before the known cultures of medieval Europe. Could the manuscript contain knowledge from a time or place we have no record of? Was it written by someone who had access to an entirely different worldview or cosmology, one so foreign to us that we simply cannot recognize its patterns? Other, more fringe theories delve deeper into the possibilities of ancient secrets or even extraterrestrial influence. Some have speculated that the Voynich manuscript was created by an alien intelligence, with its language and illustrations intended to communicate ideas far beyond the understanding of Earth's inhabitants. While this theory remains highly speculative, it points to the way the manuscript's baffling symbols have stirred the imagination, suggesting that the text may contain knowledge or wisdom that transcends our current understanding of history or human language. Perhaps the most intriguing and unsettling idea surrounding the manuscript is the possibility that it was intended as an elaborate hoax. Some suggest that it was created as a prank or as a piece of medieval entertainment, designed to confuse and mystify future generations. If the manuscript is a hoax, it raises an even deeper question. Why did its creator go to such lengths to make it so intricate and elaborate? What was the point of creating a text that would leave historians and cryptographers scratching their heads for centuries to come? The sheer complexity of the Voynich manuscript makes this theory difficult to accept, but it's certainly a possibility that cannot be entirely ruled out. As time passes, the Voynich manuscript continues to elude interpretation. Its origins remain unknown, its purpose uncertain, and its meaning a tantalizing enigma. Perhaps the manuscript is not meant to be understood in our time, or perhaps it contains secrets that are simply beyond our current ability to comprehend. What we do know is that the Voynich manuscript has survived for over 5 centuries, and its mystery endures, drawing in countless minds in the pursuit of answers. For now, the Voynich manuscript remains a riddle wrapped in parchment, And, as we reflect on its mystery, we are reminded that some questions may never be answered. The manuscript invites us to wonder about the hidden knowledge of the past, the cultures we may never fully understand, and the secrets that lie just beyond our reach. Could it be that we are on the verge of cracking the code, or is the Voynich Manuscript destined to remain a cryptic relic, forever eluding our grasp? As we ponder these questions, the mystery persists, beckoning us to look deeper into the enigma it represents. In the barren desert of southern Peru, amid the vast, dry expanse of the Nazca Plateau, a mystery has lingered for centuries, one that defies simple explanations and challenges our understanding of ancient cultures. This is the land of the Nazca lines, those enormous geoglyphic shapes carved into the earth, visible only from the air. But alongside these iconic formations, another enigma has recently emerged: the Nazca mummy figures. In 2017, a set of strange mummified remains surfaced in the nearby desert, sparking widespread intrigue and controversy. The mummies, unlike anything previously discovered in the region, appeared to be humanoid in form, but with several unusual features. The most startling of these features were elongated skulls, 3 fingers on each hand, and elongated, almost alien-like limbs. These discoveries have since led to an outpouring of speculation, as well as intense scrutiny from both the scientific community and the media. Are these remains an ancient artifact of a previously unknown culture, or could they point to something far stranger, something beyond the bounds of human history as we know it? The figures were found in the region of Nazca, in close proximity to the famous geoglyphs, and they seem to possess some degree of preservation that is unusual for mummies of this age. Some of the remains appear to be intact enough to suggest that the mummies were once deliberately preserved, perhaps through a process that involved wrapping or embalming. They were found buried in a dry, arid environment, where the lack of moisture has helped preserve their physical state. But their distinctive features have raised questions. Why were these bodies treated in such a way? And why do they seem so different from the typical mummies of the Nazca or other pre-Columbian cultures of the Andes? The mainstream interpretation among archaeologists is that these mummies belong to the Nazca culture, a civilization known for their complex systems of irrigation, pottery, and textiles, who thrived in the region between 100 BCE and 800 CE. However, the unusual characteristics of the figures suggest something outside the norm. Most of the mummies found in the area are of human form, but these figures have a distinctly non-human appearance, with their elongated limbs, 3 fingers, and large skulls. One theory is that these could be the mummified remains of a previously unknown group within the Nazca civilization, perhaps a group with a genetic mutation or an unusual cultural practice that led to these distinct features. This mainstream interpretation, though plausible, is not the only one. Some researchers have proposed more speculative theories, suggesting that the mummies could represent a different kind of being altogether. Some point to the possibility that the figures might not be human at all, but instead represent the remains of extraterrestrial visitors. The idea of ancient aliens has long captured the human imagination, and the strange features of these mummies have led some to draw comparisons to depictions of aliens in modern pop culture. Could it be that these mummies represent beings who came to Earth long ago, their remains preserved as evidence of an ancient visitation? While this idea remains highly controversial, it has gained attention from those who believe that extraterrestrial influences may have shaped the development of ancient civilizations. Another theory that has emerged around the mummies involves the possibility of ancient medical or ritualistic practices. Some researchers suggest that the elongated skulls and 3-fingered hands could be the result of intentional cranial deformation, a practice known to have been carried out by ancient cultures, including the Nazca. Cranial deformation, which involves binding the skulls of infants in order to shape them into a desired form, was a widespread custom in many ancient cultures around the world. However, the mummies found in Nazca seem to take this practice further, with their skulls appearing to have been elongated to an extreme degree. This has led some to speculate that these figures were created through an unusual, perhaps religious form of body modification meant to symbolize something greater, such as spiritual power or connection to the gods. While the theories continue to evolve, what remains undeniable is the startling nature of the discovery. These mummies challenge our preconceived notions of ancient peoples and their practices, urging us to reconsider what we think we know about their capabilities and cultural rituals. The mummified remains themselves raise fundamental questions. What motivated the Nazca people to preserve these figures in such a deliberate way? Was the mummification process meant to honor these beings, or was it part of a greater, more enigmatic ritual? And what did these figures represent to the culture that buried them in the desert sands? Adding to the mystery is the method of discovery. The mummies were reportedly found in a cave by a group of local farmers who had stumbled upon the remains while conducting excavation work in the area. The initial reports, however, were muddied by conflicting accounts, and questions have arisen about the authenticity of the mummies and whether they were uncovered by accident or part of an organized excavation. The controversy surrounding the initial discovery has led some to question whether the mummies were part of an elaborate hoax, created to capitalize on the growing fascination with extraterrestrial life and ancient mysteries. The lack of solid evidence supporting the origins of the mummies has only fueled the speculation, leaving us to wonder whether we will ever know the full truth about their discovery and their creators. To date, the mummies remain an anomaly, their origins and purpose shrouded in mystery. Despite efforts to subject them to scientific scrutiny, including DNA testing and carbon dating, many questions remain unanswered. Some tests have indicated that the mummies date back several centuries, suggesting that they could be a product of the ancient Nazca culture. Yet the exact nature of their relationship to the Nazca people, if there is one, is unclear. Are these mummies an isolated anomaly, or do they represent a larger, more complex story about the ancient world? Were these figures once revered as sacred beings, or were they part of a far more obscure practice lost to time? As we continue to probe the secrets of the Nazca mummy figures, we are left to grapple with the tantalizing possibilities they present. The strange features and preservation of the mummies suggest that they may have played a significant role in the ancient Nazca culture, or perhaps even belong to a culture entirely separate from it. Whether these figures were created as part of a religious or ritualistic practice, a mysterious legacy from an advanced civilization, or something far stranger remains an open question. The figures beckon us to search for answers, to peel back the layers of history, and to ask ourselves, what is it that we are missing about our past? What other secrets lie buried beneath the sands, waiting to be discovered? The mystery of the Nazca mummy figures remains unsolved, and in the desert silence, their story continues to whisper, perhaps waiting for us to hear it. In the arid, remote regions of South Africa, amidst the rugged terrain of the Wonderfontein region, a curious and perplexing discovery has continued to baffle researchers and ignite the imaginations of those who encounter it: the Klerksdorp Spheres. These strange metallic objects were found embedded within ancient pyrophyllite deposits, some dating back an estimated 2.8 billion years. Despite their primitive surroundings, the spheres exhibit characteristics that seem far out of place in a geological context so distant from the present. At first glance, the spheres themselves are nothing extraordinary, round, smooth, and metallic in appearance, much like polished stones or small marbles. Yet upon closer inspection, they reveal features that defy easy explanation. Some of the spheres appear to have a distinct, almost perfectly spherical shape, while others are more irregular, exhibiting striations or markings that suggest a level of craftsmanship that would not have been possible with the tools and knowledge available to any known prehistoric civilization. What sets the Klerksdorp Spheres apart from any other geological find is the unnerving precision with which they have been shaped. Some of the spheres are perforated with grooves or ridges, which seem to run in patterns that suggest a deliberate design. These grooves resemble the kind of marks made by advanced tools, but no known tools or methods capable of producing such results would have existed when the spheres were supposedly formed. Further adding to the mystery is the fact that these spheres, which have been found in various sizes, range from small objects that fit comfortably in the palm of your hand to much larger specimens weighing several kilograms. The spheres themselves have been thoroughly studied by geologists and researchers, and many have dismissed them as nothing more than natural geological formations. One common explanation suggests that the spheres are the result of a natural crystallization process. According to this theory, the pyrophyllite, a soft, clay-like mineral that the spheres were embedded in, underwent an unusual form of chemical weathering, which produced spherical shapes over millions of years. While this theory may account for the shape and general appearance of the spheres, it does little to explain the complex features of some specimens, such as the grooves, which appear far too intricate to be the result of simple geological forces. Despite the mainstream explanation, there are other theories that suggest a far more complex origin for the spheres. Some have speculated that the Klerksdorp Spheres might be the remnants of a long-lost ancient civilization, one that predates all known human cultures. According to this theory, the spheres may have been created by a race of beings with advanced technological knowledge, far more sophisticated than what was previously believed to have existed in the ancient world. These beings, possibly extraterrestrial in nature, may have left behind these artifacts as a form of evidence, or perhaps as a piece of their lost technology. Adding further fuel to the fire of these speculative theories are claims made by some researchers that certain markings on the spheres appear to be too deliberate to be natural. There are suggestions that the grooves etched into the surfaces of the spheres are not merely the result of geological processes, but are instead intentional designs. Some argue that these grooves could be a form of symbolic writing, or perhaps a type of advanced engineering that was far ahead of its time. Could it be that these spheres were part of a larger, more complex mechanism, an artifact from a civilization whose knowledge of material science and technology has been lost to history? Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Klerksdorp Spheres is their age. The fact that these objects have been found in rock formations that are believed to be billions of years old raises a fundamental question. If these spheres were indeed manufactured by an intelligent civilization, then could it be possible that such a civilization existed long before humanity, or even before the rise of life on Earth itself? Could the spheres be remnants of an ancient civilization that predates all known human cultures, lost to the ravages of time? Or, as some proponents of alternative theories suggest, could they be relics of an extraterrestrial presence on Earth? The age of the Klerksdorp Spheres invites us to consider the possibility that Earth's history is far older and far more complex than we have been led to believe. Many mainstream scientists dismiss the idea that advanced civilizations existed before known human history, pointing to the absence of archaeological evidence and the lack of any coherent record of such civilizations. Yet, as we continue to uncover new and bizarre artifacts, like the Klerksdorp Spheres, it becomes increasingly difficult to ignore the tantalizing possibility that our understanding of the past may be incomplete, if not fundamentally flawed. While the mainstream scientific community remains largely skeptical of any extraordinary claims surrounding the Klerksdorp Spheres, the fact that they continue to spark such intrigue highlights a larger, unresolved question. How much of Earth's ancient history is still hidden from us? We tend to think of our planet's past in a linear fashion, with distinct periods of development. First, the emergence of life, then the rise of early civilizations, and finally the technological advancements that led to our modern age. But discoveries like the Klerksdorp Spheres challenge that narrative. If these objects are truly artificial, could they represent the work of an entirely different kind of civilization? One whose history has been erased by the passage of time, or one whose remnants are scattered throughout the earth, waiting to be rediscovered? The Klerksdorp Spheres do not provide easy answers. They do not fit neatly into any accepted historical or geological framework, nor do they confirm any one theory about their origins. Instead, they stand as an enigmatic reminder that there are still mysteries lurking beneath the surface of our planet. Mysteries that perhaps will never be fully understood. They challenge our assumptions about the past, pushing us to question what we think we know about the history of our world. Were these spheres formed by natural forces, or were they crafted by an intelligence far older than we can imagine? And if they were created by an ancient civilization, what does that tell us about the true history of human or even extraterrestrial activity on Earth? As we contemplate the Klerksdorp Spheres, we are reminded of how much we still have to learn. Some mysteries are easily explained, while others remain tantalizingly out of reach. The spheres are a testament to the unknown, to the possibility that the history of our planet is far more complex and far stranger than we can even begin to fathom. Could it be that the Klerksdorp Spheres are a key to unlocking secrets from a distant, forgotten age? Or will they forever remain a riddle, waiting to be solved by future generations of researchers, explorers, and dreamers? For now, the mystery endures, and the spheres continue to beckon us, silently, from the distant sands of South Africa. As we journey through the annals of unexplained archaeological mysteries, one artifact continues to captivate and confound experts: the Piri Reis Map. This ancient world map, crafted in 1513, is believed to have been created by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, whose name it bears. Drawn on a piece of parchment made from animal skin, the map has long been a source of fascination, partly due to its remarkable accuracy for its time, and partly due to the fact that it includes details that should have been impossible to know, given the technology and geographical understanding of the early 16th century. The Piri Reis Map is not particularly large, measuring just 36.5 inches by 25.5 inches, yet it presents a world that is strangely familiar and yet undeniably mysterious. The map shows parts of Europe, Africa, and the Americas, with particular focus on the coastlines of South America. But it is the map's depiction of Antarctica, specifically the section that seems to show the coastline of the continent, though it is currently covered in ice, that has given rise to countless theories, from the plausible to the outlandish. When viewed in the context of the era, the Piri Reis Map is an anomaly. In 1513, Europe was still in the early stages of exploring the Western Hemisphere. The New World was being charted by European explorers, but Antarctica was not discovered until the 19th century. The fact that the Piri Reis Map depicts the southernmost part of the Americas and, more importantly, a coastline resembling Antarctica's northern coast, free from ice, has raised many questions. How could a map from the early 1500s have such an accurate depiction of a continent that, by all accounts, was not officially discovered for another 400 years? The standard explanation suggests that the map is a compilation of several earlier sources, maps from ancient civilizations, some lost to time, and some from the more recent explorations of the Americas. It is widely accepted that Piri Reis drew upon a variety of maps available to him, including those of the Spanish and Portuguese explorers, as well as older sources from the Greeks and Egyptians. The problem, however, is that no known maps from this period include such a detailed and accurate portrayal of the Antarctic coastline. How could Piri Reis have known that Antarctica was there at all, let alone depict it so clearly? Was it a mere coincidence, or is there something more to this map than meets the eye? One mainstream theory suggests that Piri Reis was simply drawing upon a wealth of earlier knowledge that has been lost to history. According to this interpretation, the ancient Greeks and Egyptians may have possessed advanced cartographic knowledge, possibly gained through ancient maritime exploration that reached the far corners of the world. The idea is that Piri Reis, in compiling his map, may have been working with a collection of ancient, pre-Columbian maps that accurately depicted the globe, maps that have since disappeared, leaving behind only the Piri Reis Map as evidence of their existence. Another theory posits that the Piri Reis Map could be evidence of a much older civilization, one that possessed knowledge far beyond what we currently understand. This hypothesis suggests that a technologically advanced civilization, possibly one that existed thousands of years before the rise of ancient Egypt or Greece, mapped the world with a precision that was only rediscovered centuries later. Could the ancient Egyptians, or another lost civilization, have charted the earth with accuracy, and did their maps survive in fragmented form to influence later cartographers like Piri Reis? Of course, there are more speculative theories, including the idea that the map is evidence of extraterrestrial contact. Some have suggested that the map could be a record of advanced alien knowledge passed down through history by visitors from other worlds. The suggestion that extraterrestrial beings may have had a hand in shaping the ancient world is not new, and the Piri Reis Map, with its inexplicable accuracy and mysterious depictions of the Antarctic coastline, has only fueled this particular theory. According to proponents of this view, the map could be a relic of ancient visitors who shared their advanced technology with early human civilizations, leaving behind clues that only now are we beginning to understand. The more grounded theories argue that the depiction of Antarctica's coastline is simply a case of cartographic error or coincidence, with no intentional knowledge of the ice-free continent. Some suggest that the map's portrayal of the coastline might be based on the geographical knowledge available to Piri Reis through the accounts of earlier explorers, and that the resemblance to Antarctica's northern coastline is just a mistake. Still, this explanation fails to account for the precision of the map's other elements, and the uncanny resemblance of the coastline to the true shape of Antarctica, a coastline that remained undiscovered until the 19th century. Regardless of how one interprets the Piri Reis Map, its existence raises profound questions about the accuracy of historical records and the possibility of lost knowledge. What are we missing about the past? How much has been lost to time, be it in the form of ancient maps, forgotten technologies, or obscure civilizations? The map's clear depiction of the world, in ways that should not have been possible in the early 1500s, invites us to reconsider our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient peoples and the extent of their explorations. The Piri Reis Map is, in many ways, a key to understanding our past. It suggests that our history is far more complex than we often acknowledge, and that the lost knowledge of previous ages may be far greater than we can imagine. It compels us to ask questions not just about the map itself, but about the very nature of human discovery and exploration. How much of the world did ancient civilizations know that we have since forgotten? What other mysteries might remain hidden beneath layers of time and dust, waiting to be rediscovered? As we reflect on the Piri Reis Map, we are left with more questions than answers. Was it a product of ancient knowledge passed down through the ages? A mistake? Or something more profound, pointing to a deeper connection between our distant past and the unexplored regions of our world? The mystery remains unsolved, and as we look at this fragile piece of parchment, we are reminded that some of the greatest mysteries of our history are still waiting to be uncovered. What else might be out there, waiting to be found? What ancient truths are still hidden, just beyond our reach? The Piri Reis Map continues to challenge our understanding, leaving us to wonder whether its secrets will ever truly be revealed. In the quiet, arid landscape of Nampa, Idaho, a curious discovery was made in 1929, one that has remained a subject of intrigue and mystery ever since. Buried deep beneath layers of ancient rock, a small figurine, seemingly out of place in time, was unearthed. The object, an intricately carved clay figure, was unearthed by a well-digging crew, and its significance quickly became apparent. It was no ordinary artifact. This was a depiction of a human-like form, complete with distinct features that suggested a level of craftsmanship far ahead of what should have been possible for the time it was believed to have come from. The Nampa Figurine, as it came to be known, was found at a depth of approximately 15 feet, beneath several layers of volcanic ash and rock that geologists date to be at least 2.5 million years old. The object itself, though small, about 3 inches tall, was remarkably well preserved. It showed the figure of a woman, with long flowing hair, detailed facial features, and a cylindrical body. It was not merely a crude, primitive figurine, but a carefully crafted sculpture that suggests knowledge of anatomy and artistry far beyond what one would expect from a culture of that era. What makes the Nampa figurine so mysterious is not just its craftsmanship, but its age. At the time of its discovery, the prevailing view of human history placed early humans as emerging no more than 100,000 years ago, with civilization itself only beginning to flourish around 6,000 years ago. The figurine's deep burial, beneath layers of volcanic ash that were already millions of years old, defied conventional understandings of prehistory. If the figurine was truly made by humans, or humanoid beings, 2.5 million years ago, it would rewrite the entire history of humanity. But could this really be the case? The mainstream explanation, held by many archaeologists, suggests that the figurine is likely a much more recent artifact, possibly from the time of the Native American cultures that lived in the region in the 19th or early 20th centuries. It is thought that the figurine may have been accidentally buried by the well-digging crew, who may have inadvertently disturbed older layers of sediment. The possibility that the figurine was a more modern creation and was simply misplaced in the wrong geological layer has been offered as a way to reconcile the artifact with the accepted timeline of human history. However, this explanation does little to account for the detailed craftsmanship of the figure. Such artistry, combined with the figurine's apparent age, raises unsettling questions. Could it be that ancient civilizations existed much earlier than we have been led to believe? Could this figurine be evidence of a much older culture, one that had mastered sculpting and artistic expression, but which left no other traces of its existence? Adding to the mystery is the question of who or what might have created the Nampa figurine. While the object seems humanoid in nature, there is no other known evidence to suggest that a sophisticated human or humanoid society existed 2.5 million years ago. Homo sapiens, according to mainstream archaeology, did not appear on the Earth until approximately 300,000 years ago, and earlier hominid species such as Homo habilis or Homo erectus, who lived millions of years ago, were thought to be far less advanced in their tool-making and artistic abilities. So, who could have crafted such a figure? Was this the work of a lost civilization? Or perhaps a more advanced species that existed before humanity, but whose existence has been erased by the passage of time? Some alternative theories suggest that the figurine could be evidence of an advanced civilization that lived in the distant past, possibly even millions of years ago. Could there have been a forgotten civilization that thrived long before the rise of human ancestors? Some theorists even suggest that the Nampa figurine could be proof of ancient extraterrestrial visitors, beings capable of creating advanced art and leaving behind objects that were lost to history. These fringe theories, while speculative, add to the intrigue surrounding the object and challenge the conventional narrative of human history. Yet, as with many archaeological anomalies, the Nampa figurine also invites skepticism. There are those who argue that the figurine's age may have been misjudged, or that it was not created by a human hand at all. Some suggest that the object could have been formed naturally, through geological processes that shaped the clay into a figure resembling a human form. Others believe the figurine could be a case of pareidolia, where the human mind imposes familiar patterns onto random shapes. But this theory seems to fall short when considering the fine details of the figure, which do not resemble the irregularities one might expect from natural formations. Even with all the questions and theories surrounding the Nampa figurine, one thing remains certain. It is an enigma that refuses to fit neatly into the established understanding of human history. The artifact itself is a testament to the gaps in our knowledge and the mysteries that continue to evade our understanding. If the figurine truly dates back millions of years, it could suggest a history of human or humanoid activity far older than we have ever imagined. But how does this discovery fit into the broader narrative of human evolution and civilization? As we ponder the Nampa figurine, we are forced to confront the limits of our understanding. How many mysteries from the past remain hidden from view, buried beneath layers of time, waiting to be uncovered? What lost civilizations or forgotten cultures might have left behind artifacts like the Nampa figurine, clues to a history that is still unknown to us? And, most hauntingly, if this figurine is indeed millions of years old, what does that imply about the history of intelligent life on Earth? Could it be that the origins of human civilization extend far beyond what we know, and that we are only beginning to scrape the surface of an ancient, deeply mysterious past? The Nampa figurine, in all its enigmatic detail, invites us to look deeper into the shadows of history, where the answers to these questions may be hidden. It stands as a reminder that the past is far from fully understood, and that the truth may be stranger and far more complex than we can imagine. Whether it is the product of a long-lost civilization, a misunderstood artifact, or something more extraordinary, the mystery of the Nampa figurine endures, leaving us to wonder what else might be waiting to be uncovered in the layers of time. Among the many relics of ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerian cylinder seals stand out as both fascinating artifacts and enduring mysteries. These small, intricately carved objects, often no more than a few inches long, hold a remarkable amount of information about the civilization that created them. Originally crafted from stone, metal, or clay, the cylinder seals were used primarily for stamping impressions into clay tablets, often to mark property ownership or official documents. But their intricate designs and symbolism suggest that they served a far more complex role in Sumerian society than mere record-keeping. The seals themselves are beautiful, detailed works of art, often depicting scenes of ritual, mythology, and daily life. Their engravings can show anything from religious ceremonies and divine figures to kings, animals, and scenes of conflict or negotiation. Some of the most famous seals feature the gods and goddesses of the Sumerian pantheon, while others depict kings in the act of worship or engaging in grand acts of statecraft. The craftsmanship is undeniable, with some of the seals showing an extraordinary level of precision and artistry that seems almost ahead of its time. One of the most striking features of these seals is their imagery. In many instances, the figures depicted appear to possess a strange, almost otherworldly quality. Some seals feature beings with elongated heads or bodies, suggesting either stylized representations or, perhaps more intriguingly, beings who were meant to represent gods or even extraterrestrial figures. This has led to speculation over the years that the Sumerians may have been in contact with beings from other worlds, or that their religious symbolism was inspired by encounters beyond Earth. Perhaps the most famous and mysterious of these depictions are those found on the seals that seem to show gods descending from the sky in flying vehicles. In several instances, gods or celestial beings are portrayed as part of a procession, accompanied by winged discs or other symbols of the heavens. One particularly famous seal, known as the Sumerian astronaut or heavenly messenger, depicts a figure standing with a large circular disc above them, which some interpret as a spacecraft or flying chariot. Could these images be symbolic representations of spiritual or divine realms? Or could they point to actual contact with visitors from the stars? Such interpretations have led some to propose that the Sumerians, whose advanced knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and architecture was far ahead of its time, might have received assistance or knowledge from extraterrestrial beings. This theory, often associated with the ancient astronaut hypothesis, posits that advanced beings may have visited Earth in ancient times, leaving behind symbols and artifacts that hint at their influence on early human civilizations. While this theory is not universally accepted, it raises the question: could the Sumerians have possessed knowledge of the heavens that came from sources other than their own observations and intellectual endeavors? Some have pointed out that the Sumerians' advanced understanding of astronomy, particularly their knowledge of the planets and their movements, appears to surpass what one might expect from a civilization that had no telescopes or advanced observational tools. Was their understanding of the cosmos the result of their own observations, or could it have been aided by knowledge passed down by beings from beyond Earth? For those who remain more cautious in their interpretations, the images on the seals may simply represent symbolic representations of divine or celestial realms rather than literal depictions of alien visitors. The Sumerians were known for their rich mythology, and many of the beings depicted on the cylinder seals may simply be gods in symbolic or metaphorical forms. Their winged discs and other celestial symbols might represent the divine or the power of the heavens, rather than direct evidence of extraterrestrial contact. After all, the Sumerians were deeply spiritual people, and their belief in gods and supernatural forces permeated every aspect of their lives. The cylinder seals, with their complex iconography, may have simply been a reflection of this worldview. Yet, despite these more grounded explanations, the idea of extraterrestrial involvement cannot be easily dismissed. In the centuries following the rise of the Sumerians, other ancient cultures, from the Egyptians to the Maya, also depicted gods and celestial beings in ways that seemed to imply an awareness of phenomena that could be interpreted as visits from the skies. The fact that so many ancient civilizations share these themes raises intriguing questions about the commonality of these beliefs and the origins of the imagery. Another mysterious aspect of the cylinder seals is the question of their purpose. While it is widely agreed that they were used for administrative purposes, marking ownership, sealing documents, or signifying an individual's authority, some have suggested that the seals might have had more esoteric functions. In ancient Mesopotamia, where magic, religion, and political power were often intertwined, the seals may have been used in rituals, not just as marks of ownership or authority. Some scholars believe the seals might have been used to invoke divine protection or blessings, or to ward off evil spirits. Their intricate designs, often featuring gods, kings, and mythical creatures, might have been intended to harness cosmic or divine powers. Furthermore, some seals feature what appear to be detailed star maps or astronomical charts, which might indicate that the Sumerians had a sophisticated understanding of the heavens. Was this knowledge obtained through observation, or could it have been passed down from an even more ancient source? Some researchers have suggested that these charts could be indicative of an early form of celestial navigation, while others point to them as evidence of Sumerian efforts to understand the patterns of the stars, perhaps in an effort to predict the future or align their rituals with cosmic cycles. The cylinder seals are, in many ways, a key to understanding the Sumerian worldview. They offer a glimpse into a civilization that was at once deeply religious and highly advanced, blending mythology, astronomy, and governance in ways that we are only beginning to fully comprehend. But they also pose more questions than they answer. Were the images on the seals simply representations of divine power, or were they an attempt to document encounters with something more extraordinary? The fine line between symbolism and reality is blurred in these artifacts, making it difficult to discern their true meaning. As we examine the Sumerian cylinder seals, we are reminded that much of our understanding of the ancient world remains incomplete, obscured by time, lost knowledge, and the limitations of our current interpretations. What secrets do these ancient carvings hold? And, more intriguingly, what might they be telling us about humanity's place in the cosmos and our connection to forces, be they divine or extraterrestrial, that transcend the limits of our understanding? These questions, like the seals themselves, remain etched in history, waiting for the answers to emerge from the mists of time. Among the many artifacts of ancient Mesopotamia, few have captured the imagination of researchers and enthusiasts alike as much as the so-called Baghdad Battery. This object, discovered in 1938 by the German archaeologist Wilhelm König near the ruins of the ancient city of Ctesiphon in modern-day Iraq, has sparked a wave of speculation about the technological capabilities of ancient civilizations. At first glance, the artifact, a small clay jar, appears to be just another inconspicuous relic. But its contents and construction tell a story that raises profound questions about the advanced knowledge possessed by those who lived millennia ago. The Baghdad Battery consists of a terracotta jar, approximately 5 inches in height, with a copper cylinder inside and an iron rod protruding from the top. It is thought to have been used to house a chemical reaction that would generate a small electrical charge, much like the batteries we use today. To modern eyes, it seems extraordinary that such a device could have been made around 2,000 years ago, long before the advent of modern electricity. Could it be that the people of ancient Mesopotamia had some knowledge of electricity that was lost to history? And if so, what purpose did this knowledge serve? The mainstream interpretation of the Baghdad Battery is that it was not a battery in the way we understand it today, but rather a device used for simple electroplating, a method of coating metals with a thin layer of another metal. The idea is that the copper and iron components of the jar could have been used to create a rudimentary form of electroplating, which was known to the ancient world. This theory suggests that the ancient Mesopotamians, while not aware of the full implications of electrical power, were able to harness a chemical reaction to produce a small electrical charge to coat objects like jewelry with a thin layer of gold or silver. While this explanation is plausible, it fails to fully account for the intricacies of the device. Could a simple electroplating device explain the construction of the Baghdad Battery, or is there more to the object than meets the eye? What if, instead of merely being a tool for creating decorative objects, the battery served a different function, one that involved a deeper understanding of electricity, or perhaps even a lost technology? Some researchers have proposed that the Baghdad Battery was, in fact, an early example of a true electrical power source. If so, this raises the possibility that ancient civilizations may have had access to a knowledge of electricity far ahead of its time. Could it be that the people of Mesopotamia, or other ancient cultures, discovered how to generate and store electrical energy in ways that were never fully understood or recorded? And if they did, why did this knowledge disappear from history? Was it deliberately erased, or was it simply lost in the sands of time? One of the most fascinating aspects of the Baghdad Battery is the mystery of its purpose. If it was indeed capable of generating electricity, why would the people of ancient Mesopotamia need such a device? Could it have been used for religious or ceremonial purposes? Some researchers have speculated that the device might have been used in rituals or religious ceremonies, with the electrical charge representing the power of the gods or divine forces. In this context, the Baghdad Battery would have served a symbolic function rather than a practical one. Others have suggested that the Baghdad Battery might have been used in medicine. Could the ancient Mesopotamians have understood the effects of electrical currents on the human body and used the device for therapeutic purposes, much like modern-day electrotherapy? The idea that ancient peoples could have had an understanding of the healing properties of electricity is a compelling one, but it remains speculative as there is no direct evidence to support it. More fringe theories have suggested even more extraordinary possibilities. Some have proposed that the Baghdad Battery was part of a larger network of electrical devices used by ancient civilizations to generate power on a large scale, possibly even for lighting or communication. Others have gone so far as to suggest that the battery was part of an advanced technology brought to Earth by extraterrestrial beings. These theories, while far more speculative, highlight the deep intrigue that the Baghdad Battery continues to inspire. But how do we reconcile the existence of such a device with what we know about ancient technologies? Could the people of Mesopotamia, with their mastery of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering, have had the means to discover electricity, perhaps through trial and error, or through some lost form of scientific inquiry? The Baghdad Battery stands as a testament to the advanced knowledge of ancient cultures, but it also challenges our understanding of what those cultures were truly capable of. There are, of course, skeptics who argue that the Baghdad Battery is nothing more than an ordinary artifact, perhaps an object that has been misinterpreted or misunderstood. Some suggest that the copper cylinder inside the jar might have been used for entirely different purposes, such as storing liquids or herbs, rather than as a component in an electrical device. Others believe that the supposed electroplating theory is simply a convenient explanation that fits with modern expectations of what the artifact should be. To these critics, the Baghdad Battery may simply be a curious relic, but not one that offers any groundbreaking revelations about ancient technology. Yet, despite these doubts, the Baghdad Battery remains an enigma. It is difficult to ignore the possibility that it could represent a lost piece of technology, an artifact from a time when the boundaries of scientific understanding were perhaps more fluid than we imagine. And even if the object was not an early form of electrical power, its very existence raises questions about how ancient civilizations may have interacted with their environment in ways we are only beginning to understand. In the end, the Baghdad Battery remains a mystery, one that forces us to question our assumptions about the technological capabilities of ancient peoples. Was it a simple tool for electroplating, or was it a device with a far more profound and elusive purpose? Could it be evidence of a forgotten chapter in the history of electricity? Or was it a product of ancient imagination, a symbolic object with no real connection to the world of science? As we continue to investigate the Baghdad Battery, one thing becomes clear. It is more than just an artifact. It is a reminder that the past is full of mysteries that remain unsolved. Whether the battery was a true electrical device or simply a misinterpreted object, it challenges us to think beyond the boundaries of what we know and reconsider what ancient civilizations might have achieved. And as we look at this small, seemingly unremarkable artifact, we are left to wonder, what other secrets might be hidden, waiting to be uncovered, in the ruins of ancient worlds? In the heart of the Transylvanian plain, nestled among the hills of southwestern Romania, a curious discovery was made in 1961 that would ignite the imaginations of archaeologists, linguists, and historians alike. The Tărtăria Tablets, 3 small, weathered clay tablets, were unearthed by a team of researchers at the Tărtăria Archaeological Site, a settlement that dates back to the Neolithic period, approximately 5,500 years ago. The tablets, though seemingly unremarkable at first glance, are inscribed with a series of symbols that have defied interpretation for decades. Their enigmatic markings suggest that they may hold the key to an ancient form of writing that predates known script systems by centuries, perhaps even millennia. The Tărtăria tablets were discovered near the remains of a Neolithic settlement, which had been occupied by the Cucuteni Tripilia culture, one of the most advanced societies of prehistoric Europe. The civilization flourished in the area around 4,800 BCE, and is known for its impressive architectural achievements, large settlements, and intricate pottery. Yet, the discovery of the tablets raised a question that still lingers in the minds of scholars. Could these clay objects represent one of the earliest examples of writing, far older than the earliest known script from Sumer, which dates to around 3200 BCE. The tablets themselves are modest in size, each about the size of a small paperback book, and are covered in a series of abstract symbols, arranged in patterns that seem to suggest both deliberate design and meaning. The carvings are not like anything from the known writing systems of the ancient world, which only adds to their mystery. Some symbols resemble figures, others appear to be abstract geometric shapes, and still others seem to represent concepts related to agriculture, fertility, and perhaps even the cycle of life. Despite the lack of a clear reference to any known script or language, the precision and complexity of the symbols suggest that they were not simply ornamental, but intended to convey some kind of message. The mainstream theory regarding the Tărtăria Tablets is that they represent an early form of proto-writing. Many scholars believe that these symbols could have been part of a system used to record or communicate information, perhaps a form of ritual or symbolic language. The idea is that the tablets may have been used in religious or ceremonial contexts, a hypothesis supported by the discovery of other ceremonial artifacts at the site, such as figurines and pottery, which may have had symbolic meanings linked to fertility, harvests, and the natural world. Some researchers have even suggested that the symbols on the tablets could be precursors to the early writing systems that would eventually emerge in Mesopotamia and Egypt. In this view, the Tărtăria Tablets represent an isolated early attempt to capture human thought and language in a visual form, a step in the long evolution of written communication. If true, this would place the Tărtăria Tablets among the earliest examples of writing, predating Sumerian cuneiform and Egyptian hieroglyphs by more than a millennium. Yet, despite the plausibility of this theory, there are significant gaps in the interpretation. For one, the Tărtăria site shows no direct evidence of a sophisticated culture that would have needed to develop a formal writing system. The Cucuteni Tripilia culture, although advanced in many respects, did not appear to have the same need for record-keeping or administrative systems as the Sumerians, whose writing was developed to document trade, ownership, and government. So why, then, would the people of Tărtăria have developed such a complex system of symbols? What was their purpose, and what did these markings truly represent? The tablets themselves offer no easy answers. Attempts to decode the symbols have so far met with little success. Some scholars believe that the marks may be purely symbolic, serving a spiritual or ritualistic purpose, rather than representing a true written language. Others have speculated that the symbols might relate to a kind of calendar, tracking the passage of seasons, agricultural cycles, or celestial events, an idea that ties into the broader prehistoric fascination with astronomy and the natural world. But there are other, more speculative theories surrounding the Tărtăria Tablets, theories that venture beyond the bounds of conventional archaeology. Some researchers have suggested that the tablets could represent a form of lost knowledge, a glimpse into a forgotten system of communication that was later overshadowed by the development of more widely used writing systems. This theory suggests that the Tărtăria Tablets are the remnants of a once flourishing but ultimately lost culture, one that may have developed writing independently of Sumer and Egypt. Even more extraordinary claims have been made about the tablets. Some fringe theorists have proposed that the symbols on the Tărtăria Tablets are not of human origin at all, that the carvings may represent an alien language, or perhaps a form of communication left behind by a mysterious ancient civilization with advanced knowledge. This theory hinges on the notion that the symbols are so intricate and precise that they could not possibly have been created by the simple agrarian society that inhabited the region. But such claims, though captivating, are speculative at best, and without tangible evidence to support them, they remain on the fringes of archaeological inquiry. So, what are we to make of the Tărtăria Tablets? Are they an early attempt at writing, a symbolic system for religious or ceremonial purposes, or perhaps something entirely different? It is difficult to say, as the meaning of the symbols remains elusive, and their purpose in the context of the Cucuteni Tripilia culture is unclear. What is certain, however, is that these mysterious tablets challenge our understanding of the development of writing and communication in ancient societies. Could the Tărtăria Tablets be evidence of an even earlier form of writing, one that was lost to history, only to be rediscovered centuries later in a form we can barely comprehend? Or do they represent something far more cryptic, a key to understanding an ancient worldview that has long since vanished? For now, the Tărtăria Tablets remain a riddle, one that continues to captivate the minds of those who seek to understand the origins of human language and knowledge. And as we search for answers, we are left to wonder what other secrets might lie buried in the ancient past, waiting to be discovered, secrets that could change the way we think about the dawn of civilization itself. In the rolling hills of Romania's southwestern Transylvanian plain, a small archaeological site has become the focal point of one of the most puzzling mysteries of prehistoric Europe. The Tărtăria Tablets, discovered in 1961, were unearthed in a Neolithic settlement dating back to around 5,300 BCE, long before the rise of the great civilizations of Egypt or Sumer. The tablets, 3 small clay pieces, are inscribed with symbols that have defied translation, leaving scholars and historians alike grappling with the question, what message was this ancient society trying to convey? The site where the Tărtăria Tablets were found, near the village of Tărtăria, was part of the Cucuteni Tripilia culture, a sophisticated society that thrived in the region, known for its large settlements and distinctive pottery. The inhabitants of this culture were not merely agrarian farmers. They were skilled artisans and builders with a deep understanding of the land and its cycles. The discovery of the tablets, however, hinted at something even more remarkable, a potential breakthrough in the evolution of written communication. The tablets themselves are unassuming in size, about the size of a modern paperback book, and are made of fired clay. What makes them so extraordinary are the complex, abstract symbols that adorn their surfaces. Some resemble figures, others geometric patterns. But unlike the symbols found on other artifacts from this culture, these markings show signs of intentionality and purpose, suggesting they were created to convey meaning rather than merely to decorate. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Tărtăria Tablets is the possibility that they might represent one of the earliest examples of writing. Though no script system is known to have existed in Europe at this time, some researchers believe these symbols could predate the earliest known writing systems, such as the cuneiform script of Sumer or Egyptian hieroglyphs, by more than 1,000 years. This raises a fundamental question. Could these tablets be evidence of an ancient, forgotten method of communication, one that could change the way we understand the origins of writing itself? Mainstream scholars have largely dismissed the idea of the Tărtăria Tablets representing a fully developed writing system. Most suggest that the symbols may have been part of a symbolic or ritualistic code, perhaps a means of recording religious or astronomical knowledge rather than representing a written language. Some theories propose that the markings could be related to the early stages of written communication, perhaps similar to the pictograms used by other ancient cultures to record important events or concepts. In this view, the tablets could have been created to commemorate a spiritual or cosmological event, a reflection of the ancient people's deep connection to the cycles of nature and the cosmos. The abstract symbols, with their geometric precision, might represent agricultural cycles, deities, or aspects of the natural world. The intricate nature of the carvings, however, implies that these symbols were not merely decorative, but may have had a functional role, perhaps to preserve knowledge, transmit rituals, or mark significant societal events. Yet there is a more radical theory, one that pushes the boundaries of conventional archaeology. Some fringe researchers argue that the Tărtăria Tablets represent a system of writing far more advanced than anything seen in the ancient world. According to this theory, the tablets could be the remnants of an unknown, highly developed civilization, one that existed long before the rise of known ancient cultures. These symbols, some argue, might even represent a form of written language used for record-keeping, trade, or governance, an idea that would place the origins of writing in a much earlier period than traditionally believed. But if this theory holds any merit, then why has no other evidence of such a civilization been found? Why are the Tărtăria Tablets the only artifact of their kind? The absence of any other similar artifacts, as well as the lack of a known culture that would have had the need for a writing system of this kind, leaves many questions unanswered. Even more intriguing is the notion that the Tărtăria Tablets might be part of a broader, still unknown tradition of early writing that spread across Europe long before the rise of Sumer and Egypt. Could it be that the people of the Cucuteni Tripilia culture, with their elaborate pottery and intricate art, were the bearers of an advanced system of communication that has been lost to history? Or, perhaps more tantalizingly, could the Tărtăria Tablets have been a bridge, an artifact that connects an even older forgotten civilization to the known cultures of the ancient world? Some have suggested that the symbols on the tablets could be an early attempt to represent complex ideas like those we now associate with writing. Could these early markings be a form of proto-writing, a system of visual communication that gradually evolved into more formalized script systems? If so, what does this mean for our understanding of how writing developed? Did writing emerge as a practical tool for administration and commerce? Or was it, as some have proposed, a means to encode spiritual or cosmological knowledge? The mysterious nature of the Tărtăria Tablets invites speculation beyond the realms of mainstream archaeology. Some alternative theories suggest that the tablets could be evidence of a long-lost, advanced civilization, one that predates our understanding of human history. Could these markings be the remnants of an ancient code, perhaps of extraterrestrial origin, or the work of an advanced society that was wiped from the historical record? While such ideas are highly speculative, they do provoke deeper questions about what might still be hidden in the depths of our past. As we search for answers to the riddle of the Tărtăria Tablets, we are faced with a fundamental mystery. How did the people of this ancient culture come to produce such an advanced artifact? Were they simply the first to experiment with symbols, creating the earliest known form of writing? Or is there more to the story, an untold chapter in the history of human communication that has been lost to time? What remains clear is that the Tărtăria Tablets are an enigma, an artifact that challenges our understanding of early civilization and the origins of written language. They remind us that even the most seemingly straightforward discoveries can contain layers of mystery waiting to be uncovered. And as we continue to examine and analyze these ancient symbols, we are left with a haunting question. What else might be hidden in the ancient world, waiting for us to unlock its secrets? Nestled along the shores of Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire, a small, seemingly ordinary stone rests quietly in the depths of local history. It is known as the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone, and its discovery in the 1870s sent ripples through the local community and beyond, sparking curiosity, debate, and even controversy. The stone, which measures roughly 6 inches long and 3 inches wide, is carved with a series of intricate yet puzzling symbols. To the untrained eye, it might appear as nothing more than a natural rock, but for those who have examined it closely, the Mystery Stone stands as a testament to something far more enigmatic, something that, even today, remains unsolved. The stone was discovered near the shores of the lake by a local resident, but it wasn't until it was brought to the attention of archaeologists that its true peculiarity began to surface. What makes the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone so extraordinary is the series of symbols carved into its surface. These symbols do not match any known written language or known form of artistic expression from the indigenous peoples of the area, nor do they resemble any contemporary forms of communication from the time of the stone's discovery. The stone itself is made of a dense, hard material, possibly granite, and is roughly oval-shaped, with a polished appearance that suggests it was deliberately worked. The carvings are shallow but distinct. Some resemble simple geometric patterns, while others look like representations of human faces or abstract symbols. At first glance, the symbols seem almost playful in their design, but a deeper analysis reveals a pattern of deliberate complexity, as if the stone was meant to convey a message. Yet, no one has been able to decipher that message, if there is one at all. The stone's origin remains a matter of intense debate. One theory suggests that it is a Native American artifact, possibly linked to the ancient Algonquian or Abenaki peoples who inhabited the region long before European settlers arrived. These tribes are known for their complex spiritual beliefs and their use of symbols and totems to represent various aspects of the natural world. However, no known language or symbolism from these cultures matches the markings on the Mystery Stone, leading some to dismiss this idea. Others propose that the stone could be a relic of a much earlier, forgotten culture, perhaps one that predated even the Native American tribes of the area. There is speculation, though highly speculative, that the stone might be linked to a long-lost civilization that once inhabited the northeastern United States. Some researchers point to the possibility that the stone's carvings represent a form of ancient writing, suggesting that the people who created it were in contact with far more advanced cultures, perhaps even distant maritime societies whose influence reached across the Atlantic. Could this stone be a remnant of an unknown people, long since erased from the historical record? Then there are the more fringe theories, a more sensational perspective, often championed by those who entertain the possibility of lost civilizations or even ancient extraterrestrial encounters, suggests that the markings on the stone might be a form of alien communication or a message left by an advanced extraterrestrial race. While such claims are certainly controversial and unsupported by mainstream archaeology, they do capture the imagination. Could the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone be a relic of something far more extraordinary than any earthly culture? For all the theories and debates surrounding the Mystery Stone, the question that remains unanswered is simple. What is its purpose? Was it created as a tool for communication, a ritual object, or something entirely different? Some scholars have suggested that it may have been used in a form of spiritual practice, perhaps as a talisman or offering, intended to invoke powers from the natural world. The precise and deliberate nature of the carvings, especially the faces and geometric shapes, suggests that it may have been meant to represent something larger than just a decorative object. But without further evidence, such ideas remain speculative at best. What adds to the intrigue of the Mystery Stone is its context within the broader history of Lake Winnipesaukee. This area has been a site of human habitation for thousands of years. Native American tribes, particularly the Abenaki, used the lake as a vital resource for fishing, transportation, and trade. Yet, there is no definitive evidence linking the stone to these cultures, nor any records of similar artifacts being found in the region. While it is possible that it could be an indigenous artifact lost to time, it is also possible that it originated from another, long-forgotten culture, whose influence on the area has been lost to history. The stone's place within local lore is equally mysterious. Over the years, various legends have sprung up around it. Some claim that it was discovered during a time of great upheaval in the area, when settlers were encroaching on native lands. Others say that the stone was used in secret ceremonies, passed down as a sacred relic. Whatever its true history may be, the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone continues to captivate those who come across it, either by accident or design. In the absence of clear answers, the stone invites speculation and curiosity. What is clear, however, is that the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone remains an unsolved artifact, an object that continues to baffle and inspire. Could it be a key to a long-forgotten chapter of human history, an ancient script that connects disparate cultures? Or perhaps it is something else entirely, a symbol of a mystery that has yet to be unraveled. The more we attempt to understand the origins of the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone, the more elusive its true nature becomes. While the stone's physical characteristics are relatively straightforward, its meaning remains frustratingly obscure. Is it a relic of an unknown civilization, a lost form of writing, or a more symbolic object tied to spiritual or ceremonial practices? As with many archaeological mysteries, we are left with more questions than answers, and the possibility that the stone's secrets may never be fully understood. What might still be hidden beneath the surface of this curious artifact? Could there be more to this enigmatic stone than we have yet discovered? As we ponder these questions, the mystery of the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone endures, quietly waiting for the day when perhaps its true story will finally be revealed.